All right, and welcome to one of the first games that we're going to have in season 14 of the Style Esports you know, league that we have. This game is going to be MiSFiTS versus Elation Rebirth. So, this game is going to be a Freljord season 13 division champ MiSFiTS versus their opponents Elation Rebirth. Um, both teams have already played some games in the season so far. Misfits are unfortunately 0-2 so far in this season. Elation Rebirth not far behind with just 1-2. So it's going to be an interesting game to be able to see all this play out right now.
100%. Especially because, like you're pointing out, champions not starting the best possible, trying to make it so that they can turn around a bit, get some wins to start of the season. Obviously, they may be riding on the high from the previous season, so they're still getting accustomed. And we need to also understand that we're starting a new season. Like, this is played for, I think, one of the first games that they will be playing on the new season with a lot of the changes. So that can also impact how some of the gameplay goes.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a very interesting game on how this plays, especially with some of these players that we've seen before play. With Misfits, definitely playing a lot towards this bot side.
Yeah.
Fearless and what looks like Villanova really being able to take over the games whenever we've seen them play before, and really just showing the pure power that they have. Yeah, especially on the opposite side where we have the uh, Rebirth, where they play a little bit more towards that top side, trying to get tomorrow ahead, especially on that Aatrox. We have Egoist, definitely pushing a lot towards that Pantheon. So it should be definitely very interesting to see how both of these teams match up and seeing how both teams play against each other, play against their strengths and their weaknesses of each team.
Yeah, certainly having that like opposite advantage from each side may end up impacting a lot of the matches. I think that right now top lane feels like one of the stronger plays to play, so or places to play for. And I think that if you have a strong top laner and you can give him advantageous picks, then you can really try and carry on that momentum and make it so that you get a really good advantage to win out the game. Bot lane is not necessarily bad, but there's a reason why it's getting buffed in the next patch, and it's not because it's strong, I can tell you that.
Oh yeah, definitely 100%. But it's looking like we're gonna get into this pick ban right now. The first ban coming on Elation side with the Zillion. So definitely taking away those speed up, that chrono break, definitely making sure that they don't get that champion out.
Certainly.
Yeah,
Trying
miss.
to also focusing a little bit on the mid lane side of this, they are attacking champions that can provide a lot of supportive power, and that's champions that have been strong right now. Like Rice, Kassadin, and Cillian beneficiate a lot from the tier and the Rod of Ages. So taking away champions that can take full advantage of those, I think makes sense. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Kassadin ban or a Rice ban as well, but a lot of focus towards topside as well with the Gangplank, the Gwen, and the Volibear, by the way. Ooh, even
Yeah.
Anivia.
And it looks like that Nivea actually will not be able to see. We won't be able to see that ice queen, that ice bird coming out, which I was actually very excited to see coming from Elation Rebirth since they've shown a lot of skill on it. But it looks like we have the first pick on Elation Rebirth
Ooh.
side, Maokai. And it's gonna be interesting to see where he goes. He could definitely go a little bit top, not too much, but jungle and support he's definitely shown some power in the season so far.
That is true. I think top lane jungle should be the main two lanes that we're seeing this Maokai in. Obviously, you're pointing out there's a potential for the support, but I wouldn't be super ready for seeing it. On the other side, they're hovering Samira and they go for the Samira. Really strange considering the power picks right now on the bot lane. Feels like the Ashe, Ezreal, Caitlyn as well potentially. Even the Varus as well has been quite strong. So it's interesting seeing the Samira being the pick, but they immediately follow with a Pike. So this is going to be a
Ooh,
kill lane. We're going to
yeah.
see blood down there.
As we've already said, Misfits is playing towards this bot side, and it's going to be very interesting, seeing how they
Yep.
actually push towards that like that very powerful bot, just that Samira Pike. It's one of those lanes where you get very ahead, and you really push that Samira into going into that mega death ability, or it's one of those lanes where you end up falling short and not being able to do too much in the game. So it's really going to see how this jungle goes for Misfit side, seeing if they play towards that bot side, making sure that they get ahead. And we have the Caitlyn answering back. So looks like we're going to be answering that short range style with a long range poke from Caitlyn.
Certainly, having the long range, I wouldn't be surprised if they go for. I was thinking Karma, Soraka does have
Huh?
the long range, but it's just that yes, you do have the range control and potentially the damage from a safe distance. But it's just that as long as they are willing to take the fight and go in, they can deal so much damage to you. And really, this Samira Pike is built to kill you, and against the squishies, that can work out really, really well.
Yeah, agreed. Although I do think that there are better picks than the Soraka here, we can't ignore
Fair
that the
enough.
fact that Soraka's silence does stop Samir ult. So it is one of those
Yeah.
instant things that happens. I feel like maybe a Leona could have gone a little bit better if we wanted to go that route, but Soraka definitely showing off that power of being an enchanter, being able to heal up Caitlyn, any damage that happens to her, while also being able to stop Samir in her most powerful ability.
I
And looks
agree.
like we are going to see that Amumu on the bot lane. Or
They
sorry,
are
in the jungle.
playing. Yeah, they're playing for the aggressiveness. They are going to go for kills. And it's not only anymore just killing down there in the bot lane, it's kill in general. They want to engage in team fights, they want to force the issue. I respect that idea. I feel like if you're going to pick Samira, if you're going to pick Kaisa as well,
Mhm.
champions that do want to team fight, you pick team fighters around them, and I really like the idea. Now, more focus towards the mid lane, potentially with Aurelia, Cassidy, we were talking about him,
Yeah.
and maybe even more because mid laners are still yet to be picked.
Yeah, as you said, taking out that high aggression that they have, Irelia being banned out, and it looks like Aatrox being taken away from Elation Rebirth. Tomorrow definitely showing a lot of skill in that champion. In the last,
Yep.
I think, 2 games that he was played in the last series, he went berserk in one of those games, going, I think, 10-3, I believe. And then the other game falling a little bit short, but definitely showing a lot of power. And Jax also being taken away. These aggressive champions that we see, Jax only needing about one item to really turn on, being able to throw out all of that damage. Ooh, but
Certainly,
the
it's
Azir.
good focus. And Asir here, Asir is not one of the champions that did get benefited from the changes. Not like he can't build them necessarily, but you're not incentivized as the Asir. Like you can build them, but you don't get the maximum value compared to other mid laners. Asir though will deal a lot of team fighting damage. He's a much better insurance policy to have if the game goes a little bit longer, and he still can join into fights. Obviously, Shurima shuffle plays can still happen, so I don't dislike the pick overall, but I'm just feeling this may become really risky because this bigger pick here may end up being
Ooh,
amazing thanks to the event
yeah.
horizon.
I 100% agree here that that gate just absolutely stopping Samir, Pyke, Mumu, Azir, just stopping all these champions from being able to use those strong engages.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting if he uses them, beforehand, trying to use those as baits, or as he uses as, peeling back, maybe some engages, trapping Samiras, trapping Pike, all those champions. But yeah, I think it's an extremely strong pick here against these 4 dashes that they have. I'm
It's
still
really
waiting on
going
those.
to be the case like that. And obviously now they really want to go for a late game scaling team fight.
Ooh, it 100%. It's we have these Orin top lane. One of those tanks where they're not quite playing in the front of the lane, but they are definitely there, showing off their damage, showing off those stock ups, really using that train and kiting back the hyper aggressive lanes. That's what he's mostly known for. Though it is extremely strong into these 4 extremely aggressive lanings. Not so much on Azir, but at least the other 3. So
Yeah,
it's definitely a very strong lane from, or very strong team from Elation Rebirth, just making sure that MiSFiTS not being able to use those strong sides that they have on their team side. And
it's interesting the ideas they are opting for. This is Trundle top, by the way, not a not jungle. I'm already in the jungle position. Adding a split pusher to a team fighting comp because Rondo, well, it's not like he cannot function, and actually stealing away the stats from Maokai and Ornn may turn up useful. I'm not sure if he fits completely in the idea of the composition.
yeah, I'm not quite sure what his purpose will be this game. I mean, he could definitely be the tank shredder that they need for the Maokai and the Ornn. But it will be interesting to see how he plays in this top lane. He definitely has a lot of power against this Ornn. Every time he tries to throw himself back, Ornn Trundle just puts up his pillar and stops it. So it's one of those very few things that can actually stop Ornn from being able to run away, being able to engage. But it'll be interesting to see if he goes for the team fight build or if he wants to just split push, ignore the game, make sure that his team is always up at least one objective or like a few waves, making sure that they're not falling too far behind in case they lose those team fights.
And that's kind of
Um,
the thing. The fact that if even if the team loses a fight, if the Trundle is split pushing effectively, you may find a lot of value thanks to that. Like he can really just by himself carry out moments of the game where it's not feeling like it's the case.
yeah, 100%. He is one of those champions where he can do a lot of things. With just depending on what you build, just depending on your items, your runes, everything like that. But I will have to keep the eye out on this bot lane, especially with this hyper aggression from MiSFiTS. Although we are talking with Elation Rebirth, I think overall it seems that they've definitely won the draft. This all depends on how the first 15 minutes of the game goes. If MiSFiTS is able to get that strong lead in bot lane, it could mean a doom for Elation Rebirth in the mid game.
100%. It's a lot on if they can push the issues like you're pointing out. If they are able to get early kills, force the side of Elation to make mistakes that they don't want to, take fights at one item power spikes. Like those things can make MiSFiTS be stronger because of how their champions work. And if you're in Elation Rebirth, you want to keep the game controlled. You don't want to be forced into that situation. You just want to farm it out. Maybe get the better out of a couple of picks here and there. Even trading one for one, it's more positive for Elation than for MiSFiTS because you're getting the equal trade, and that's not something that MiSFiTS wants at all. So they want to try and make the game be as slow as possible.
Yeah, Elation Rebirth, just make sure that they don't go too hard on these objectives, making sure that these neutral objectives like Dragon, like Rift Herald, it's okay to give those over because you are Ornn, you are Veigar, you're Caitlyn, you are going to scale up, you're going to just out damage and outpower the Samira, the Pike, maybe even the Trundle a little bit, depending on how he goes. Amumu and Azir typically stay strong towards the mid and late game. But yeah, these other three champions may fall off a little bit. So both these teams have their ideas of how to win this game, and it's just overall to see who plays it better.
Yep, that's kind of
Yeah,
the name of the game in a lot of the games. Like obviously compositions can be a little bit stronger once or twice. Well, actually, there can be a lot of instances where compositions are better, but you need to be able to execute on them. And I think that if you're more comfortable on the aggressive style, you should try and make it work out because that's something that you can pull off more times than less.
yeah, and it's gonna be interesting how this game goes. Uh, as we wait for these teams to start into their time, and us waiting the 3-minute spectator time, we're gonna take a small break. We're just gonna see how this first 15 minutes goes, and after that, seeing if both teams can play to their advantages. So we will be right back. All right, and here we are in game. All right,
They're
it's gonna
setting
have
up for
a
a level 1.
yeah, it's gonna be a basic little start from Rebirth here, but it looks like that we're gonna have a strong little
No.
invade from the Misfit side here, but nothing coming of fruition just yet here.
They just need to be a little bit more. Yeah, commit here. Go. Oh no, they're spotted. Oh, the pain.
Ooh, looks like ooh, we have the flash coming out, but nothing coming there. Pike taking a whole lot of damage. Okay.
That's not worth.
Nice little interesting start here. All right, looks like that we're gonna have a small gap coming out from Misfits here. Losing that flash early on in the super hard engaged bot lane is definitely not the best thing to be happening here. But it looks like we will just have a basic start from both sides right now. After that.
I like the idea. I like the commitment. I just dislike the way that they went with it because at that point, like the opponent needs to make a mistake for it to work out, and obviously it didn't work out. Flash for the Pike is not the worst thing to blow because he does have mobility, but at level 1 he may get a little bit more pressured, and he also had to back early.
Yeah, he definitely wasn't able to. I think he might have missed a little bit of CS on that bot lane, but I'm not 100% sure. But I know definitely he's going to be missing that for these early engages that they might want to do later on. Looks like he is still playing a little aggressive though.
Well, if they get
He's,
level 2 quick, they can kind of force the fight, which, yeah, they really want to go for that.
it looks like they might get it in the end. Ooh, the
Oh,
silence. Ooh, a lot of damage coming out from Caitlyn Soraka here. Thank
and
God for
that's a
the
big issue
Pike
of the
passive.
silence.
Yeah, that silence, as we said, not only, I guess, not only for the Samira ult, but also going to be for Villanova's engages, making sure that that Pike never gets a pullback.
And
All
I
right.
think for the bot lane from the Caitlyn and the Soraka, they've been managing this so well. Because even though they are getting a little bit pushed, it's not like the Caitlyn has lost CS. Wait a second.
Yeah, she's actually going to be up a little bit CS if they get all these minions here. They're going to be up about, I believe it's going to be about 3 CS or 4 CS. So
Yeah, it's
already wave 3 just starting a little bit of a lead for themselves here in this bot lane. Making sure that
something
that
really
Samira
good
Pike
for
is
the
not
Caitlyn.
showing off.
I like that. I like that they are still trying to threaten the Caitlyn as much as possible.
Oh, 100. Yeah. They have to. It is
It's
the
a game
way that they're
plan.
going to win this. Oh, it's going to definitely be very hard underneath this turret. Trundle taking a lot of damage from this Ornn. Not the way that I thought this lane would go, but Trundle just has to be very careful. All it takes is one breath and an auto, and he may be gone. Ooh,
Did
this
enough.
silence. This silence coming out, not seeing the trap in the bush. He may still just taking a lot of damage. Not quite dead yet. The pull onto Caitlyn, but these heals from Soraka
The
really
tree is
showing
just too
off.
strong.
A lot of damage coming from Caitlyn. The flash having to come out from Samira here. Ooh, definitely very close in this bot lane. Both suns pulled by Kitten here in this Soraka. Mid OTP ADC still holding onto her flash, still holding onto that heal. And all sums down from Misfit side. So really, that was a great trade from the side of Caitlyn Soraka, the side of Elation Rebirth here.
They are punishing as much as they can that Caitlyn, that Samira Pike. And the biggest issue is what we're pointing, the silence. Sometimes it may not hit, but the threat of the silence always makes it so that the Pike has to try and move around it. And if the Pike has to move too much, he just becomes an easy target for the punishment. And the punishment from the Caitlyn Soraka is way, way better. This top lane also quite low health.
Yeah, very low in this health, down almost double the CS. So Trundle just really feeling the pain of the train in this top lane. Ornn just showing off not only the skill, but just how better his champion is, saying, hey, I dare you to come up for this farm right now. All he is
I'm
just one auto,
begging you,
basically
come
one
here.
breath auto away, and that may be the end of Trundle. So he has to be a very careful game here.
Like this changes when Trundle gets level 6, obviously, as well as a couple of items. Like Trundle can begin barreling down onto the Ornn, but Tomorrow has done such a great job at manhandling the Trundle so far.
Yeah, I have to agree. Trundle having to back early, probably gonna have to spend that teleport within the first, 6 minutes of the game. Let's see
Well,
if he's
at least it's
actually
not
gonna
like
use
there's
it.
fights that are bound to happen, I think, so early on. But for the composition of MiSFiTS, maybe trying to force the fights would be more ideal than not.
Yeah. Right now,
Oh,
this is
fight.
just almost a 1,000 gold lead going onto Elation Rebirth, but a Mumu Trundle looking very dangerous in this top lane. Ooh, but looks
Ooh.
like Ornn's gonna get the knockup, be able to get
They can
out.
still win this if they want
Oh,
to.
Ornn flashing out, Maokai having to go in, and it looks like they're just gonna have a small little trade here. Two turret shots going on to Trundle here. Maokai getting very low, but so is the side of MiSFiTS, and ends up nothing happening right now.
Not much happened there. And importantly, and it was crucially, the miss from the bandit shows way better than Chaos.
Oh, and
Oh,
he ends up getting. Oh no, he doesn't end up getting the kill. He ends. Oh, and he lives with just what looks like 10 HP. Almost nothing
outplayed.
there.
Outplayed.
Oh,
Complete outplayed there.
a play from Maokai almost had it going, but not quite. The Chomp just being too dangerous, too much damage. And MiSFiTS getting it played on this bot lane, returning the favor that Elation had already gone on their side. And this gold has automatically swung back into the favor of MiSFiTS from down 1,000 to up 100 in the span of maybe a minute, honestly.
And that was such a crucial kill to get on the Trundle as well because he needs to try and be able to fight back onto the Ornn. We saw the ultimate with the value that he gets, he can finally make a dent onto the tank, but you need to get the items as well. And having now this Shin with the damage, it's important for this Trundle. Wait. Ooh.
Ooh, almost timing it right, but not quite. Missing a slight amount. Both champions just autoing each other a little bit here. It looks like Trundle's actually going to win that. I have to change my mind. Ornn getting the full W damage out and then getting the auto attack along with Grasp turned that trade completely the other way. Amumu getting very dangerous here, going in without actually being able to see the Maokai, and he ends up dying for it as well. And it looks like this may be first Drake turning into the side of Elation Rebirth.
More than
MiSFiTS not
likely.
showing that they want to contest it.
More than likely, and it's not just the fact that there was no idea that the Maokai was there. It's surprising that they committed that without vision, but also the support and the 80 carry were nowhere near close. So it wasn't like that, although Baldé
Ooh,
may
a lot of
end up
damage coming
fighting.
out to the
Yeah,
Soraka here. The silence being able to get onto the Pike, but it doesn't matter because it's just too much damage from this Samir and the Pike here. Villanova showing that he's just a little bit better. The pull almost hitting, but not quite.
it's a
And it
lot of
looks like,
damage they were able to deal then there.
ooh, MiSFiTS showing that they want to go for this Maokai. Veigar trying to support his jungling here, and it looks like he may be able to get him out right now. It doesn't look like he's used the cage just yet. But it's going to be a 3v2 in this mid lane if they do know. Pike trying to get this pull out. The Ignite
Oh
coming out in the
no!
ult from Veigar, making sure that he does not get the chance. A flash coming out from Azir here, and the flash coming out from Amumu, making sure that Veigar does not get that Q kill.
That's way too much of a positive intent there. Like, I understand wanting to go for the kill, but you're still committed way too much previously, and you don't even have the ultimate yet on the pike. So it's not like you're going to get a lot of value. You may get traded, and they don't even get traded. Like, they lose the pike, and nobody else dies. That's not a positive look there. At least Amumu and Azir end up surviving, because if they both die in that play, that would have been disastrous for MiSFiTS.
Yeah, 100%. In the end of that elongated fight, it looks like it's just going to be 2-for-1 and a Drake going over to the side of Elation Rebirth. MiSFiTS maybe making a few missteps in these lanes here.
You stop getting dive?
Looks like Trundle is just gonna feel the pain. No chance at all with the pure amount of CC coming out from the Maokai ult and Ornn Train. Just absolutely making sure he cannot move and he will perish underneath his own turret.
That is painful because I thought that with the kill that he got earlier, also adding on top of that the fact that he got the ultimate, he should be able to finally fight the Ornn. But Ornn has gotten the better out of him consistently in those fights. And it's just so painful to see how this Trundle is just getting controlled completely. Also, quickly to point out, great job by Mito to be ADC, blocking the Q from Samira so that she doesn't get the cannon, just a little bit of salt on top of the plate.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, it's not looking too good for MiSFiTS here. This early game, these first 15 minutes were very crucial in their team composition, but it looks like they may be falling behind here.
Well, with
You know, is
first
there?
items, I think they can find angles to try and play it off. Ego
Ooh,
lost the blue buff. That hurts so much as a mid laner to see. Oh.
the poor Veigar having to walk back to mid lane empty-handed here.
Well, you have yourself to blame. You could have timed that better, I will say.
Yeah, 50 health. That's all it takes. All it takes for that blue buff to live just a little bit longer, and that jungle health now being the difference. Well, it looks like we're gonna have a small little scuffle in this top lane. Three members of Elation matching the four members of MiSFiTS here.
Maybe
But it
committing
looks
for
like
the
they're
Herald.
not gonna. It looks like they don't even know that they're going for this Rift Herald yet. Oh, but Maokai, or not accidentally, but taking that blast cone, not knowing the fate on the other side, falling to the Azir here, getting him just a little bit ahead.
I'm not even sure, like you're pointing out, if it was accidental or not. It did turn into a kill, so 100% credit to the side of MiSFiTS with this play. Maybe even going farther for mid lane.
Ooh, Veigar being in a little bit of a
Ooh.
strong state of sorry, the wrong side of the map, but still trading one for one onto this Pike. Making sure that if he goes down, he's not going to go down without someone falling with him.
Well, at least Pike is not worth that much gold compared to the Veigar at this point, so I think it's worth. I think it's a worth trade.
I think he should still be worth 300 with the resets and the assists. So it might
But
just be
he's a
an equal
support.
trade here.
I would
Oh,
say he's a
true, true.
support, so I will
That
utilize
is
that
fair.
logic. But what you're saying is true. It's not the
Yeah.
difference in gold, much more so I would say the importance in the map. Because now Pike being off the map is not comparable to the Veigar being off the map. Bird and Chaos may die.
Oh, and it looks like Vernon is dying to the orange train one more time.
I think
It's
it's
not
two solo
looking too
kills.
good for Verdant in this top lane right now.
Do we consider the last one a solo kill since the Maokai ultimate did come through, or just this one?
Just this one, I would say. Just this one.
So
But
it's
the
a, it's
orange
a solo
train,
kill from the Yarn.
yeah, the orange train just taking a fate of two right now. You know, may a little help on that first time, but still showing off. Oh, it looks like Maokai might be in a little bit of trouble here. Oh, using that ultimate. Oh, but Samira taking two turret
I think
shots on her way out of
Samira.
there. It looks like she's
Ooh.
actually going to fall as well. Oh, but the block coming out and not enough damage coming out from Maokai. Trying to give it over to Caitlyn, but not
Oh,
remembering that it can be blocked. Oh, but the smite coming out from Maokai. Adrestia just showing that, you know, I may have let you live for a little bit longer, but it does not mean I'm letting you get away. And 2-0 going to the side of Elation Rebirth. And
but
it looks like another Drake falling their way as well.
it's honestly not 2-0 when you think in the overall context. We came from seeing tomorrow solo kill the Trundle, also adding the dragon in the mid lane, in the bot side, as well as adding on top of that the turret plates that the Caitlyn got for free. So every bit of gold that it's being obtained by the side of Elation, it's just so much more important than anything that MiSFiTS can do, and they may die here again.
All right, looks like there's a little bit of a fight coming out. Maokai trying to use his underground going. It looks like he's going to be going in, but oh, everyone seems to be getting out a little bit. Out Amumu, knowing that his fate was lost, trying to go back in, but the dodge from Maokai, making sure Pike does not get the resets. And Samir ends up falling as well, trying to follow up on that misplay. Ooh, Veigar actually getting pulled back by the Pike and not being able to finish off the Azir here. And it looks like it's just going to be a 2-for-1 here on the side of Elation Gaming, making sure that they're always staying ahead in these fights. As we said
Exactly.
early on, this Veigar Cage is really just overpowering this team right now.
And to me, it's the one that is making the difference. It's so important that they are able to ignore a lot of the damage that is coming through and even just mess up on the team fights from the side of MiSFiTS because of that cage. Like it's not like it's impossible to fight, but the cage makes it so that you need to take extra steps in a fight that usually may just be quick thing and get done with it. But because of the regular cage, it's just so much more tiresome to try and deal with the team fights.
Yeah, it's a lot coming out from the side of MiSFiTS here. Oh, it looks like Trundle might be on the wrong side of the map here. Oh, but er, I, I'm not honestly sure what just happened there. Trundle having the ult to get out of there, making sure he's sucking the health away from Ornn. Ornn getting what looked like 2 attempts to hit that ultimate, but not quite hitting it onto the Trundle. So he gets to be able to go away scot-free.
Pretty sure that was the E first, and then the actual ultimate
Ah,
charge.
okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Because if you can see, if we had replays, it would have been seen. But there's the Q also being sent out. Oh, Maokai
Ooh,
made it.
Maokai getting
Yep,
pulled back, not seeing the 4 members there, and it looks like he will fall to the Amumu. Not where your
ouch.
gold wants to go per se, but any kill counts, honestly, at this point.
Exactly. And honestly, the more gold you get onto Pike, you get another assassin as well that can work out well enough. But they need to try and get the skills or get kills onto the targets that have the gold. Someone like the Veigar, for example, would be a prime target, or the Caitlyn, since they have
Yeah,
bounties as well.
yeah, Veigar, Caitlyn, Ornn, all holding bounties onto their name. 150 for Veigar, 450 for Kate, and 200 onto this Ornn.
But Arn is too tanky, I think.
He very much is, especially with the amount of armor he has from
Yep.
Frozen Heart. Pike looking again for a little bit of a kill. Ooh, but not quite being able to get it.
Oh
Oh, but
no.
the oh my gosh, the Gale Force forward actually ends up being the death of Pike. That last auto being able to get in range. And it looks like Samira will just have to watch this turret as it gets chunked out a little bit more and more.
It's funny how it actually was a kill lane in the bot lane, but on the other side. It turned out
Yeah,
to be the Caitlyn Soraka, the actual kill lane.
it looks like they were actually the kill lane that we were not being able to see in this in draft right now.
But yeah, we
Caitlyn
would totally
standing
see it.
strong at 4-0. Samira not quite as much with 1 and 2. So what do you think that MiSFiTS has to do to get back into this game right now?
They can do two things. Like to me, there's two things that they can do. Either pick off a priority target in the form of the Veigar or the Caitlyn. Even Soraka, I think, can work out. But Soraka +1 would be how the Soraka gets value. If not, it's just the Caitlyn or the Veigar. And if not, a big teamfight victory.
Yeah, looks like a Mumu might be going in here. The flash coming out from Pike, able to get on that Caitlyn. So just as you said, the kill going on to Caitlyn, but it looks like Ornn is not going to be giving up, trading back onto that Samira for the Maokai. It looks like there's a lot of damage coming out. Ornn having to flash away, but finding the Pike and getting the pullback
They have
onto
enough
Ornn, making
damage.
sure he doesn't get away. And the damage coming out from the Pike ultimate, being able to use that true damage to his advantage to the mega armor tank there. And it looks like it's going to be a trade 2 for 2. Maybe a little bit more coming out. But it looks like Pike is going to just be looking on the side, missing that, and then backing away.
Things should be fine. There shouldn't be much kills obtained there. Do they want to keep on fighting?
Oh, it looks like Maokai trying to go back in. The stun from Pike missing. Oh, but the
Oh,
cage also not quite in getting the the dodges from Azir being absolutely insane. Going forward to flash out, making sure they doesn't not get hit from the fall from above of Veigar there. The damage missing just slightly, just behind the Azir being able to dive out the way.
we may be soon to another fight because this was before Dragon spawn. Dragon is spawning right now, and that means that there may be another situation where we see or every member trying to contest for it. Now, I'm not sure if it would be for the best plan of the side of MiSFiTS. Ultimates were used, important ultimates, to try and win that or try and make the previous fight more worth. But I feel like they are going to commit.
Yeah, it looks like it might be one of those times where they just have to. Otherwise, after this turret, it becomes soul point. But Caitlyn trapping out Azir, making sure that he's not able to join
Oh,
the
we
fight.
lost it.
And it looks like Trundle is not going to be joining. Amumu getting there just too late to be able to fight back. Oh, but it does look like some of these members are kind of stuck. But MiSFiTS not willing to take that fight. Not willing to take that 4v3. Especially with Caitlyn so close on the other side of the wall.
It's still another beneficial trade for the side of Elation. They get the dragon, nobody dies, and they are still scaling.
Yeah.
Everything working out as planned.
We have to note that just as you said though in that previous fight, how you said that MiSFiTS can come back from this game, they did get the kill onto Ornn, 200 gold. They killed Caitlyn, 550 gold for
Yeah.
just these bounties alone. So the gold has kind of more so evened up with the 4K turning into just a 1K. Ooh, but Ornn getting a little bit greedy here. The knockup not coming quite in time, but Pyke being able to use the pullback, make sure that train does not get its second run, and it looks like he may end up falling to the 3 members of MiSFiTS. Pyke getting that ultimate and sharing the gold with his beloved friends.
And it may have been three people committing to that playing top lane, but I love the timing that they were playing for this, because if you look at the rest of the minimap, there wasn't anything being contested at all. No one at Baron, Dragon is already down, bot lane is not getting pushed. So this was a timing where nothing was going to get lost by MiSFiTS, and instead they get everything, because they get the kill.
Yeah. Elation just scaling up a little bit too far without that vision, that only one ward being in that bush right next to Krug, so just a little bit too far forward without the vision to back him up. It looks
And now we're
like
waiting for another team fight, pretty much.
ooh, another note that we have to look at is Ornn is level 13. He's going to start getting those upgrades, an upgrade on his Jackstraw right now. So it will be interesting to see who he upgrades next. Is he going to go for the Veigar or is he going to go for the Caitlyn? I'm
I feel
not
like Veigar
100%
would
sure
make
of
more
the...
sense, honestly. Just because of the cage value, I would say that giving more AP for the Veigar would be really nice.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on the Ornn upgrade. I believe it's just the tier list in general, so yeah. It'll be interesting to see which one he decides to go for first. Oh, we do have Veigar and Trundle matching in the spot lane. I wonder if Veigar is actually going to give up this turret or if he's going to defend it all the way, but it looks like Pyke might be heading down to him a little bit.
It seems like he just defended it, but we haven't seen yet Trundle being able to showcase his true power. Like, he has lost 1v1 to Ornn essentially at this point, and he also doesn't get to split push effectively either.
Yeah, missing that Tiamat. He just does not have the clear speed that a split push Ornn normally would have. Ooh, a little bit of trading coming out from this Caitlyn.
Interesting.
Oh, and yeah, like you said, an interesting flash coming out from Pyke here. Not quite expecting the Ornn to be on the other side of the wall, but I'm not sure if there's anything that they could have done regardless of him being there.
Yeah, like, I don't think trading Flash or even forcing Flash right now it's the most ideal because of the dragon coming up in a minute, in less than 2 minutes. I mean,
Yeah, 2 minutes on this last Drake Soul. It's going to be very, very contested, and it may end up being the difference of this game, especially with Chem Drake being the soul that we have here. That would make it even worse for MiSFiTS. Already high damage, but not quite scaling up the same way as Elation. It would just make it
yeah.
even harder for them to be able to get these kills with that 10% damage reduc after 50%.
And one of the biggest issues also that MiSFiTS is going to present is the fact that they have a burst heavy composition, and on top of that, Azir went burst as well. He didn't opt to take the more consistent damage route, which means that if they don't get the dragon, then there's not a lot of chances for this Azir to deal with a lot of champions. He's even having a hard time dealing with the Ornn right now because of how tanky he is.
Yeah. I think it is a good switch from the side of MiSFiTS, though, making sure that Azir matches this Ornn, make sure he doesn't get too close, as well as countering out the fact that Ornn doesn't not have very much MR compared to his armor, at least. Only having 65 MR compared to his, what, 130 armor? So
Too
it
much
is
math.
a nice little switch to see, especially with this Trundle showing that he's not quite up to par in this 1v1.
And it feels like he's going. It seems like it's going towards the Blade of the Ruin King with the Vampiric Scepter also having the dagger.
Mm-hmm.
But Dragon is up essentially, and that means that fight will happen soon.
Yeah, both Ornn and Azir holding onto their teleports, so we should be able to see a 5v5 coming out here. A little bit of... MiSFiTS did get the early read onto the Drake, so they have the wards in place. They have the vision set up for the most part. But there is one tricky little control ward sitting in that bush, making sure that they don't get that Drake for free without any vision.
But now
Yeah, it looks
both
like
TP in.
Yeah, just as we said, both of those solo laners TPing in a little bit early, making sure that they're not caught behind the team fight, making sure that they're there in time, which I think is very good considering both of them are quite crucial for the damage and the CC needed for both of these teams.
Okay,
All right,
so
Pyke
Dragon
starting
gets
to
started.
Drake. Yeah, it looks like the damage is just going to be sitting on. It looks like they're doing
They
a
do get
lot of
it?
damage to it, and it looks like Amumu is going to be able to get it, but 3 members stuck into the cage. A lot of damage coming out. Samir already falling.
Oh
Amumu trying to flash in,
no!
make the difference, but not
No!
quite there. And it looks like it's just
Oh
going to be a
no!
absolute sweep from the side of Elation Gaming, getting 5 members and losing none. Only losing the Drake in this fight, and it looks like they're going to be heading towards mid and Baron here.
That's a good trade. But Dragon for team fight ace, destroying everyone and then also getting the Baron potentially. Really good team fight from the side of Elation. We talked about how well the team fighting or the composition from the side of MiSFiTS could team fight. It's just that they need to have advantages and it's post 25 minutes. So their comp is not stronger than the composition from Elation, and in comparison, there's so much more value on the side of Elation. Like they have champions that with these 2 item power spikes can begin dealing better with the composition from MiSFiTS, and we just saw in that fight.
Yeah, and these Ornn upgrades now coming out too. Both Veigar and Caitlyn having their upgrades now. 2 more levels for the last 2 members on his team. It was a gnarly fight that we saw. I believe that the fight could have gone a little bit different. At least 2 kills going onto the side of MiSFiTS, but a heal came out, stopping the Pyke reset going onto, I believe it was Soraka and then Caitlyn. So, although they still would have lost the fight, that's at least 2 kills that would have gone over. But unfortunate in the end with the healing coming out from that side of Elation Gaming there.
That's also another factor that forcing the Pike to take the anti-heal feels really bad, right? Like it should be someone else that has it, but you don't want Samira to be forced into that route. You don't want the Trundle to be forced into that route. You don't want the Asir to be forced into that route either.
Ooh. Flash coming out from Pyke, almost on reset at this point. Unfortunate. He's trying to get these picks. He's trying to get his team back ahead, but he's just not being able to get the damage out and not being able to dodge the damage coming out onto him. Maokai being annoying with
Ooh.
these little saplings. The flash coming out from Veigar here, and the flash coming out from Azir. It looks like Veigar is going to be going on a hunt for this Azir, making sure that he does not get out alive, and the Q blind going out into the bush and finding that kill. Maokai ulting, not mainly not for kills, but at least getting this turret in the end. Make sure
It's
that
a
they
zoning
have the
ult.
pressure to be able to do it. Yeah, that zoning all coming out. And it looks like they will also
I
be
think this may
losing
be the
that inhib.
game-winning push.
Ooh, Pyke ends up losing his life. Amumu getting the excellent play to the side, but it does not matter because they don't have the damage to follow up. Samir ends up getting her ultimate stopped, and Caitlyn is not letting this Trundle get away. It looks like it's just going to be another 4-0 in that top lane fight. And it looks like it will be the victory for Elation Rebirth, showing how they have come back in their birth and just showing havoc or wreaking havoc in this game.
It was so well managed by Elation this whole game. We talked about how Misfits composition needed to have the lead, needed to be played aggressively, and needed to get things going so that they can manage out the game better. We also said that their comp can work out effectively, and most of the time, if you have the better players, it can be easier to be able to manage. But the difference in players didn't really showcase itself, and then I think Elation just managed out the pacing of the game so well done. I think Egoist played amazing on the Veigar, and then the bot lane was so dominant from minute one.
Yeah, it was just a strong showing from this bot lane on Elation Rebirth, making sure that MiSFiTS is not be able to get that lead that they wanted so badly with Samir and Pyke. Amumu not really showing his face in that bot lane as much as I thought he would. I thought he was just going to be, gank on repeat in that bot lane, making sure that they got ahead, but did not seem to be the case in the end. Uh,
It kind of feels like the moment that, or the timing that a move could have potentially worked out for him was lost because of the early bad trades that Pike Samira got. And also because the early flash that the Pike, like we need to remember, Pike used flash at level 1. So he was already down a summoner and down pressure from that moment on. And it just became harder and harder for the bot lane. So even though I do agree that Amumu probably should have played more heavily for that, it was also hard for him to be able to do it because bot lane was losing without any help at all.
Yeah, it was definitely an unfortunate time that was happening in that bot lane.
Yeah.
But not to say that Misfits lost this game. Elation Rebirth was very showing off their skill in these champions that they have. Trundle, or sorry, Ornn, really showing that he was the better champion, the better player in this matchup. Maokai not quite having to do too much, but mid lane and bot lane also showing that they did not need any help from this jungle and make sure that they could win the game by themselves. So, not to take away from anything that, Misfits
Not at all.
misplaying, but definitely Elation showing that they were the better team in this game one.
I also like their draft better, so I'm glad they actually won. Just saying.
It was a very good draft, That first 15 minutes, unfortunate for the Misfits side. Uh, but like we said, if it got past 15 minutes and there wasn't a heavy lead on the Misfits, it's gonna be a much harder battle for them to win. So, any last words?
Let's go for game two. Let's
All
see if
right.
Misfits can change things up.
All right. Well, we will be right back as we set it for this game too. So don't go anywhere too far. 1-0 for Elation Rebirth into the Misfits matchup. right, and we're back for the game two of MiSFiTS versus Elation Rebirth. So they have decided to swap sides. So we're going to have Elation Rebirth on the side of red. We're gonna have MiSFiTS on the blue side here. So, do you think there's anything different that these teams should, try and choose, try and make sure that they can pull out in this game too, making sure that they either keep their leads or break down that deficit that happened early on?
Well, there's two things that they can change. That is bans to try and accommodate for what they probably don't want to play against in this next game, be it Caitlyn, Soraka, Maoka, even taking away those picks and changing their composition. Right? They went for a really aggressive comp in the previous game that clearly wanted to go in and try and get the kills as easily as possible, but that didn't turn out well. So the important part is that they can try and find a change that obviously allows for them to have more options and that don't need to be overly aggressive to get the victory.
Yeah, I think it would definitely be a little bit of a switch that Misfits should probably take here. They have shown a lot of promise in those late game fights that they at least took in the last time that we watched these guys.
Yeah.
Uh, with Misfits, I believe taking Caitlyn in the draft in the finals. So they definitely show a lot of skill, a lot of promise in this bot lane. I definitely don't want to throw them out. I don't want to say that they can't carry, but I think that maybe these champions were not quite the ones that they need to be able to get that push forward, making sure that they win this game. So I think maybe in this game, definitely getting a little bit less of those early games, a lot of less pressure on this early game, making sure that they don't have to necessarily get ahead, but maybe choosing some different champions. Maybe you can see a Kaisa, we can see maybe a Zeri, some of these other champions that are less dominant early on, but definitely show their skills and their damage late game.
Yeah. You can even just go for something like the Varus. Like that again
Yeah,
has
exactly.
domination early and can deal damage later on. So you get the best part of both. So I hope that they do up for that. We are jumping into the game, into the pick and ban. So Gwen and potentially Cillian as well. Yeah, Cillian getting banked once again. Nothing changing
Yeah.
so far. There's the Kaylin we talked about.
Yeah, there's that Caitlyn coming out. Zillion still being banned away from Villanova on the side of Misfits, so making sure that that champion is never going to see the light of day. Gangplank also coming out, so it's gonna be interesting. Verdant not being able to get his dominant Gangplank here. We do know that he likes to play those AD top laners, those hard AD tops, as we saw last game with Trundle. We've seen Gangplank as well, but he does have a few other champions that he does like to play as well. So.
But they
Uh,
are banning some of them as well. So Jax taken
yeah,
away.
Shaq's being taken away. It may not take out his whole pool, but he definitely has a little bit less to go off of. So maybe we want to see those.
Oh.
Oh, as I said, the Zeri coming out here. Yeah, being able to show off that mid late game damage, especially the high mobility that isn't necessarily like the mobility of Samira, where she has to go in. She can just chillax in the background and throw out all of her damage.
I like the Seri here. I was thinking, yeah, you get a Yumi, get a Lulu as well. Potentially, you had such a good combo down there. But now you also have options to answer here. I'm not sure which AD carry they want to pair the Yumi with, but there's quite a bit of options. Hyper carries you can take. You can even go for the safer route with the Ezreal to have
Mhm.
someone that will have enough mobility. But Yumi taking away from the Seri, I think it's a smart idea.
Yeah, honestly, I would like to see a Twitch maybe, but Nyla on the opposite end of the spectrum, not
Okay.
that far range ADC, but quite the close range. So it looks like these teams are going to be taking small changes onto the others duo in the bot lane, with
So
Nyla being that early, or not the early, but the go in very close range, except with the Yumi this time.
I do like Nyla being a Yumi carrier because of her engaging in and then having those extra healing potentials can be really good. I we didn't see in the previous game, but I hope that they go for a Hecarim as well on the side of Elation. Like Yumi Nyla Hecarim could be such a deadly combo to try and control and be able to deal enough damage to the damage dealers on the side of Misfits.
Ooh,
There's
but
a Lulu, by the way.
yeah, good pick coming out from the side of Misfits, making sure that if Nyla does go in, Lulu's just going to be there to cancel it. So Villanova is going to make sure that she gets his timings out onto the side of Nyla here.
Yeah, that's going to be an important opportunity to try and mess them up as much as possible. But that's what you want to add on the potential threats. Because if Lulu polymorphs one, then you have multiple others to play off of. Ornn once again, but this time taken by MiSFiTS. I think a smart pickup because I didn't really like the Trundle in the previous game. I don't think they played to the better potential of the Trundle in this matchup, and I think tomorrow performed super well in the art.
Yeah. Yeah, the Ornn was quite a power pick in that top lane. So, seeing on the other side, now giving Elation Rebirth the counter pick into the Ornn. So it'll be interesting seeing what they end up picking against it, which they probably should pick top lane here, especially with Ornn already showing. Maybe giving mid lane the counter pick in the last fifth pick here. Uh, so it's definitely and the Aatrox, the Camille. Okay, the Camille
I
is
like
showing
that.
her colors here. Yeah,
I like
agreed.
the
That
Camille here.
strong true damage coming out into Ornn, making sure that that 165 armor does not mean anything.
It still gives you the potential side lane threat as well because she can take turrets quite well. And I also like the value that the ultimate will provide against Seri particularly because Seri is such a slippery champion. If you have the Hextech ultimatum to lock her down in place, you can just mess her up completely, and you can even make your team fighting 100 times better.
Yeah, I have to agree. Camille just being a very good champion here. Locking, like you said, locking down that Zeri, the true damage going out into the Ornn. Honestly, it's the champion that I permaban every single game that I play in top lane.
Makes sense to
Because
me. I
the
understand why.
absolute trauma that this champion has put into my brain.
Well, since season 6, I think that people have had trauma with Camille in very different ways, but they have had trauma with her.
Yeah, it looks like Quinn still not being able to play this Anivia. Cassidon on the other side. So these mid laners being banned out, Azir also being taken out from the side of MiSFiTS. So although it may have not been the strongest pit for them, they are still, still saw the promise and the skill that was being played onto it. Which I think Azir did have a lot of he did have a lot of interesting plays. He just didn't have the damage, the goal to back it up with those items. So in case there is like a switch onto the other side, it would be interesting to see the power of Azir and Veigar. So now both previously played mid laners now being banned out.
I think that Veigar this time around would have been so good for Misfits comp compared to for Relations, but I respect it.
Ooh.
This would be such a surprise, but it's a hover. We don't talk about hovers just yet.
Oh,
It's not a hover
yes.
anymore.
All right.
I
There have been a lot of games being played from I think it's Adrestia. Yeah, Adrestia has been
okay.
playing a lot of games of Misfit or Fiddlesticks. 9 games this series or this season so far, and that's what, 1 week? 9 games of Fiddlesticks in a week. So definitely not an amateur at the champion.
Considering there's people that have played 200, it sounds small, but it's not small, okay? It's 9 games can tell you a bit. Like not a lot, but a bit. Okay, it's not a small feat. And Fiddlesticks here still fits with the idea of going into the enemy comp. You have to play around Vision super effectively as Misfits because of the risk that these Fiddlesticks can provide. And even though the Karthus here in the jungle
Oh my.
can come through and deal a little bit of damage, or a lot of damage. I'm going to correct that. A lot of damage. He does end up getting messed up by the Fiddlesticks as well. If in a team fight he gets to ulti, obviously you're going to value so much the power that he has. But if your team gets bursted out, it doesn't matter. And Yone to close up Misfits comp. I was thinking Yone for Elation because they were I think that Fiddlesticks being the sole AP damage dealer would have been way better than adding another AP damage dealer there. Said, okay, I really like that they
Right.
opted this. They are keeping the Fiddlesticks the only magic damage dealer, and this is perfect.
Yeah. This is quite the composition that we have from both sides. These
Yeah,
junglers being pulled out. I'm not gonna say that I wasn't expecting the Fiddlesticks, but I did not expect it in this competitive play here. But as someone has said, he has 70 games on it over 2 seasons and just an immeasurable win rate on it. So I think
it's true.
a very good promise into this Fiddlesticks, knowing, the damage, as you said, playing around that vision, making sure that they stay ahead. And so now we get to see how this mid lane is going to go. So Yone Set showing their colors in the mid lane, Ornn Camille in this top lane. We have Nyla Yumi versus Zeri Lulu, and Karthus versus Fiddlesticks. A matchup that I honestly have not seen ever in my years of playing League.
It's like I'm not expecting to see early anything from these two champions, if I'm honest. Like early farming, and that's about it. But I'm really excited to see post level 6 matchup because that's where we begin seeing the champions shine with their ultimates, with their damage getting stacked up, obviously getting the pets stronger or making them evolve. Like that's the true value that we see from these champions. So I'm excited to see that post level 6, no pre.
Yeah. So what do you think these teams have to do to make sure they get ahead in this game? Because it doesn't seem like it's a very straightforward like it was last game, where it was 15 minutes or nothing. Both teams seem to have a very strong late game, very strong mid game. Their early games maybe lagging a little bit, but if both teams are lacking, it's going to be interesting to see who falls ahead. So what do you think these teams need to be focusing on, each one?
Hmm. So I'm thinking maybe on the side of MiSFiTS, I feel like they need to put pressure on mid lane, particularly because of the unit. Like unit can carry out your early instances towards the mid game, because Suri wants to have 1.5 items first to really be able to output enough damage, and then obviously you want to allow for the cards to scale. Ornn is Ornn. Like he should be a pretty strong rock by himself, and not a lot of damage may happen there. But on the side of Elation, I think that they need to try and play for this Camille much more so. I can understand if they go for the Yumi Camille though. For the Nyla Yumi down there in the bot lane, try and put a lot of pressure down there to try and make them snowball. But I feel like Camille has much more agency thanks to her stuns, and then you have the damage early on, the true damage that she can play with.
Yeah, and note that I would also like to say is although we didn't see a Mumu ganking that much in game one, purely because of the wave states that each wave or each lane was having to face. I like the switch into more of an AFK jungler, making sure that they're, not having to worry so much about getting lanes ahead, but just farming it up, making sure that Karthus gets strong, make sure he gets those items, and that ultimate is hitting like a truck in every single one of the players for Elation. So I do like that switch from the Amumu, gank heavy, but not quite showing off that skill, to Karthus, where it's like, okay, we can take the back seat, we can farm it up. I'll be there if I need to be, but there's, it's a lot less pressure here.
We also get the opportunity to see that Karthus just, if a fight is happening anywhere in the map and someone is dying, Karthus just presses R, and he out of nowhere gets like 3 or 4 assists.
Yeah, there is not too many shields. Well, I lied. There is Camille in set with those very strong shields, but Fiddlesticks and Nyla, those strong damage carries that we have as well onto the side of Elation, not being able to really do too much about that Karthus ult, though. Unless Yumi decides to save them, they're just gonna have to face take that damage real quick.
Isn't it pretty much killing Karthus so that he only has ultimate to play with, and that's about it?
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, let's see if they're able to take those routes, especially with the lack of mobility on them as well. So we will be waiting out the 3-minute timer for the spectator, but we will be coming back into the Elation on red side versus MiSFiTS on blue side. 1-0 for Elation's favor right now. So don't go anywhere, and we will be back.
power to this Camille top side.
Yeah, it's definitely. Sorry, we're muted there right
Oh
now.
no.
Yeah, unfortunate. But we'll just have to pick up how we are right now. Uh, but like you were saying, early wards from Karthus there, and both sides starting on the blue, so meeting on opposite sides of the map here. And it's gonna be interesting, as you said, Fiddlesticks making sure that he gets a little bit of pressure on this top side, getting Camille ahead. Looks like she might be going for that cheater recall after the cannon wave right now.
Early
And
pushing the wave
Karthus.
and getting that cheater may end up being really nice. You also, if she had done it like quicker, maybe to push the wave as soon as possible, she could have coordinated with the Fiddlesticks so that as soon as she's coming back, Fiddlesticks is about coming into the top lane after clearing the Skull Crab as well. So it could have been a really nice way to set up the Camille, but now it's kind of messed up, and I'm not sure if it's gonna be as possible as it was previously.
Yeah. And this mid lane also going, a lot of trades coming out from both sides. Set and Yon getting a lot of damage out onto each other, but seems like neither is losing too much, both with the shields from Yon and oh, I'm sorry, the shields from Yon and the passive healing from Set. But yeah, Camille taking a lot of damage into this Trundle matchup right now. And also
What is
not
it
being
with
quite
Ornn?
in a way for Fiddlesticks to be able to gank her either.
Why is Ornn always doing much better than maybe we give? Well, obviously, Ornn is Ornn. He's a champion that you have to respect, but this is much better than I would have expected to see.
Yeah, Verdant Chaos saying, hey, you can do it, I can do it too. And we're going to be able to see if Fiddlesticks possibly looking on this top lane here. Camille maybe trying to be able to set this up, trying for the bait. It looks like Ornn will actually be caught out. Fiddlesticks moving up while Karthus is moving towards the mid
Oh
lane. The
no.
stun landing onto the Ornn, the silence too, the fear. It looks like it's just going to be too much damage for this Ornn. He is going to fall for the first blood while set on the side of of Elation Rebirth actually being able to find the way out of his 2v1. So,
Has to blow the
side of
flash.
Elation. I'm
Does have
sorry?
to blow the flash on the mid lane, the set, but getting the kill for just the flash of the set, completely worth. They don't even blow any flashes on top lane, so all in all, I think a much better trade coming in for Elation. And this is one of the issues that Ornn will have to deal with if we see more potential trades in the top lane, is that the fact that even if you're able to itemize against the Camille, Fiddlesticks is AP damage. So you cannot itemize for one and not expect the other to deal enough damage to you.
Yeah. It's a Camille getting this early sheen out. All right.
This is going to
Does
be
look like Camille is going to be going for this Sunder right now. And I think that's definitely the best item to be able to get onto that champion. Just trying to get that sheen out early as possible. Make sure that she can, as we've seen, trade back these these strong trades from Ornn. Because although he did fall early, he has been showing Camille that he is nothing to mess with in the 1v1.
that is true. I like also the fact that you can also opt into the Trinity Force in case you think that you're enough to handle with the Ornn as well. So you can opt into that Trinity Force if you think that there's enough value in other items. But the Sunder would make more sense. I also think that you can opt into Hydra to get extra lifesteal, and that can cover up for some of the value of the Triforce instead. And another gang, I
Yeah.
love this so much.
Yeah, as you said, and there's definitely a strong focus onto this Ornn here, making sure that this Camille gets ahead, but doesn't look like they're gonna have the damage. But they will be able to blow the Ornn flash, hitting the hitting the Ornn train as well, but not doing enough damage. So it looks
Ooh,
like he's just gonna be burning that for free. Set looking like he might fall. The flash coming out from the flash coming out from Quinn here, but both mid laners living with almost no
runs it.
HP dodging the Karthus Qs, and the last one hits Eden, finally showing that he can finally, show that damage, show that he can make some plays in this game.
And after the flash was blown from the mid lane, they come back and they get the kill. Important flash timing coming in from Bird and in the top lane with the Ornn, and the importance of the level 6. Because of the kill that they got, even though they did get the kill onto the Ornn, experience was taken by the Fiddlesticks. So even though they did had an advantage, they didn't have the level 6 advantage on the Ornn. And that difference could have made the kill easier on top lane and could have also made it so that Ornn doesn't get that extra damage onto the Camille.
Yeah, I do like this little switch of focus here from bot lane to mid lane. You know, letting Fearless do what he does best, soaking up pressure, but although it's not happening this game, but being able to play his own game. He is down what looks like, you know, about 10 CS after this wave, assuming that Nyla's in time to catch it. Uh, which, you know, does counter out the mid lane. So overall, it does look like this game, as we were seeing, is very even right now. Although plays being done on both sides, the gold is still evened up.
I think that the most important part is the fact that they are getting like there's no clear disadvantageous point compared to the previous game where I think the Ornn was clearly farther ahead to the Trundle, and it made it so that even though things weren't going completely bad for MiSFiTS, they were losing at points so heavily that it didn't really matter. But now because both sides are even, it's not like you don't have room to make mistakes, and it's still not going to be the worst things possible. Also, Drake getting collected right now, I like the timing that they went with, and this should be first Drake going to the side of Elation.
Yeah, Elation has been showing that they really want these early objectives, especially giving them the lead in the later ons in the games and not having to worry too much about losing a Drake every here and there. Whenever they lost the Drake last game, it didn't matter because they were still 3 up. So it wasn't that big of a deal, but Set ulting in here. Yon using his in return. It looks like there's just going to be too much damage. Lulu coming in for the shields, and Set ends up falling to the 3v1 mid lane.
They really like Zed. They really like him so much. Third
Yeah.
gank in a row. The Lulu joins Sap to go for the kill, and they get another good kill for this Yone to be able to get an even bigger advantage. Already ahead in CS, now ahead with the kills as well. I think the fact that the set did enough for the teleport is being punished really nicely. And even though the answer from the Nyla is a good one, taking those plates down there, it's going to be Herald. Oh, wait. Oh,
Ooh, but
nice.
Fiddlesticks gets in and he steals it away. So although he does get the gold from Rift, he also gets the gold from actually activating Herald.
Oh,
Quinn falling very low. The flash coming out from Adrestia, but doesn't look like he's actually going to be able to get close enough to do that damage. Camille
I'm not sure
finding
about
the
that
trades
flash.
top lane. Ornn having to be very careful since two other members of Elation is coming out. But doesn't look like they're going to be
Oh,
just in time. The fear coming out, the pullback from Set. It looks like it will be the fall of Ornn's life here, falling into the hands of Set. So a little bit of gold going back to that way. He says, hey, y'all give me so much attention. Why don't I just give it back to y'all instead? The ego is
it,
finally showing his colors.
the fear was so beautiful from the Fiddlesticks. It was perfectly in the edge, and it allowed to get the perfect damage onto the Ornn as well. Yes, Egoist does blow the flash, but I think that the set flash is one of the things that you can utilize much more freely, and it's still not as bad for the set.
Oh yeah, I have to fully agree there. You know, Set without Flash is not anything like maybe a Kane without Flash, a Yone without Flash, a Karthus without Flash. Ooh, but Nyla looks like she might be a little bit caught out here. Same with Yumi having to
That
burn
was
that
so
ultimate,
close.
and it looks like she ends up falling, trying to save Nyla's life. But Nyla actually trading back a lot
Ooh.
of damage. The flash is coming out from both sides. Nyla actually trading back the Karthus, but they have to be watching out for the Karthus Qs, and it does end up killing Nyla. The ultimate coming out, but the ultimate unnecessary as the kill was already given over. So 2 for 1 in this bot lane. Karthus falling, but both bot laners for the side of Elation falling as well.
I like the idea of the TP from tomorrow to try and salvage the play, but that works out much better. Wait a second, with the ultimate, can they do something
Ooh,
here?
an ultimate coming out from Fiddlesticks here. Maybe not the damage just yet, but I
It
could
does
be
little
wrong. He
damage.
did get the full stick, and he still has the fear, so it looks like... Oh, he didn't get
Ooh,
actually have the fear there. The flash coming out
it's
from
enough.
Ornn. Fiddlesticks not actually able to meet the flash there, so it looks like he will be getting out with his life. Both ultimates burned and a flash from Ornn.
The flash is not a bad thing to get out of the Ornn. Could mean a repeat gank later on. Tomorrow also didn't die down there in the bot lane, so it's not like you really get an obvious disadvantage. And I think the fact that the Nyla going back to that bot lane play gets a kill is much more ideal than Yumi think about because Nyla needs to be able to stack those items. I think the Yumi Nyla pairing may end up being really dangerous because even in that 1v2, in that 3v2, they were really close to actually making it work out. And they actually did because they did trade a kill.
Yeah, like you're saying, they got very close to actually. I think they got two members to half health, one below a third health, and they ended up killing the Karthus in the end there.
Yeah.
I think the only downfall in that play was just watching out for this Karthus Qs. He hit, I think,
And the
3
ulti.
for 3 onto the Nyla. And then, yeah, again, even if he hits 2, he still has that ultimate to trade back. So it will be interesting to see what Nyla ends up coming up. Probably the Hydra to get some of that healing back.
The
It
the,
looks
the
like
only
she's just going to be,
the Hydra is such an interesting item on AD carries because you can get so much value, but it's also a stacking item, so you always need to have the uptime on those stacks.
yeah. I think it's not too bad with an ADC, soaking up that
I think it
farm. But
depends.
as you said, like soaking up or having to get that farm, making sure that's stacked all the way, make sure you're getting the optimum amount of damage coming out, especially with the amount of attacks that you do. Just every single auto coming out, having that extra, 10, 20 damage on every single
Yeah.
one of them, just really does make the difference inside of a team fight. Especially when you get those armor penetrations coming out, all those extra things coming. It looks like this bot
Is it for
lane's
the next
getting
fight?
interesting. Yeah. Drek is up, so both sides of the map definitely coming down, making sure that neither one gets the vision for it.
Neither has
Uh,
teleport.
yeah, so it looks like it's going to be a straight 4 for 4 if they end up getting this Drake within the next, I believe, minute and a half in this bot lane. Or, sorry, this top lane is just going to stay as that 1v1 for now. All right. MiSFiTS trying to get that early vision onto Drake. Definitely getting the clearing out and placing some of their own vision down. Karthus and Yon also looking towards this bot lane, but they don't know that Fiddlesticks is hiding behind in the bush. So it doesn't look like they're actually going to go for that bot lane play.
He has been there for quite a while,
Oh, he's just
honestly.
been waiting.
They really want to play this waiting game, and I respect. They do know it though. They're pinging a little bit that the fiddlesticks may be there.
Yeah. I think,
I don't think there's going
I
to be a
think
fight.
there's, yeah, I think they may have spotted him at some point. I'm not 100% sure how they know, but yeah, they definitely might have spotted him.
Are they going to force now the Drake? Yeah, I think that it is going to be the Drake now forced.
Oh.
Karthus coming down. Queen taking a bit of damage, but we're going to see a fight happen. It seems.
Yeah, but might be too late, but it doesn't look like
Late
it per
Queen.
se. So it's going to be a 4v3 right now unless Egoist can make his way over. Ooh, Yon
Oh,
getting one down for now, but it will knock out the
what was the play
Nyla,
from
making it
Yumi?
Ooh, Set going in as well, but almost no health at the end of his shield. It looks like he will actually be able to, take out no one. Yumi ends up falling without being mounted, but
And Rest is dead
Fiddlesticks
though.
is just trying to trade back as many kills as he can, but Yon absolutely taking over in this fight. Yone getting a few kills for himself, and it looks like that will be Ocean Drake going towards the sides of MiSFiTS here.
Yeah, but Elation gets caught out really badly. The Nyla gets exploded immediately, and you have to question the idea overall with the team because the Nyla dies without flash. She doesn't have flash for any of that fight. So she gets engaged on, she gets immediately killed. And the Yumi was jumping away as soon as they engaged on her, but the Nyla was also in such a poor position. I would have hoped that they were going to commit to the Yoni as soon as they saw him. They didn't have the flash, so it was really hard. Wade Burden may be dead here.
Ooh, it looks like Verdant's actually going to be ending up falling here to this true damage that we're seeing from, Camille. Oh, as we just said, that true damage really showing that armor absolutely means nothing in this fight. And it looks like we are going to be trading back just a little bit more. So yeah, as you were saying, the Nyla being the just slightly wrong spot there in that
Yeah.
team fight.
But it's something that is easily correctable, especially when you have the flash and the dash charges. You can really make it so that the Nyla is not consistently out of position. Also, luckily for them, the Hydra wasn't completed, so it's not like she lost out on some stacks.
Yeah, Hydra not being completed yet, so bright sides for the side of Elation.
Yeah.
Hydra not being completed, Camille getting a kill for herself, making sure that she keeps that wave up, or that lead up, and also getting first turret for their side as well. It looks like they
This
will also be taking the second rift as well. Doesn't look like there's going to be any contesting of it, especially with Karthus on this bot lane.
it feels like that's not the case. It's also important that the Camille took that first turret, like you're saying, because of the control that they get with this Rip Herald, but also because now the biggest pressure point in the map is going to be this Camille. So if you commit resources on the other side, Camille will take turrets. If you don't and try to stop this Camille, then team fights become easier for the side of Elation. I think that this is such an important strike to have, and if you're not careful enough, may end up defining a lot of what happens in this game.
Yeah, some of these first items now coming out on both sides. So every single champion having their first item out. So as we've been hyping up Nyla, we can't forget that Zarya is also going to become stronger and stronger as this game goes
Yeah,
on. Especially with this Lulu being able to shoot out, polymorph, being able to make sure that the other team doesn't get any of their damage out. Also getting her ultimate down too, and it looks like Camille's actually getting a bit of
bro.
trouble here, having to flash out, ulting onto the Yon to dodge some of that damage, but it doesn't look like it's going to be just enough, and will end up falling for 1-0. The
Oh
ultimate coming
no.
out from Karthus, Nyla having to run for her life, but as we were saying,
That was
Zeri just
so
showing
badly
how much
played.
damage she has. Fiddlesticks ulting behind the Zeri and not quite getting there, and Zeri being able to flash out and dive over the wall. So it looks like Fiddlesticks just in the wrong position there, ulting onto the wrong target. And both members of MiSFiTS actually being able to make it out of that fight. Only losing, I'm sorry, they didn't lose anyone for any of those.
No,
So it looks like it
only
was 3 kills onto the side of MiSFiTS.
that was so badly executed by Elation in the whole, like in everything from that. Maybe if Burden dies here, then it's
Yeah.
salvageable. And I think he probably should die, although there is no ultimate of the Camille.
Yeah, Carthage trying to make his way up, making sure that he can save his Ornn. I think it
Burden should
actually
be fine,
might be
yeah.
in time here. So Camille was definitely having to back out here, making sure that she doesn't go in too deep. So MiSFiTS showing that, hey, y'all played very well game one, so we can do the same thing, playing the macro game, making sure that their champions are moving around, using their abilities, using their champions to their full potential. That
Yeah.
Zeri play just absolutely showing how she can go in, flash out, and dive over a wall, and she will never be seen again.
Well, the biggest part of that is that they committed everything for the Lulu. And when you don't have enough extra damage for the Seri, then she just just is able to outplay you because she has everything up still. I think I don't dislike the idea. I just dislike that they committed everything, they don't get the advantage, and then it's so much easier to get answered. Also, the Fiddlesticks positioning wasn't the best. Oh, it's time for the Seri
Ooh,
maybe?
but this, yeah, the snare coming out onto this area, but just diving over the wall, so not much loss there. Fiddlesticks coming out a little bit late there, not being able to get there in time for his ultimate.
And this is why Camille is going to be so important as well. Our lockdown series, she doesn't dash away, she's dead.
Yeah, as you were saying before the game, yeah, Camille being able to use that lockdown onto Zeri. And it also matters as well because Fiddlesticks spent a lot of his time into this top lane, make
Ooh.
sure that Camille got ahead. Oh, they're not quite the fear getting out
Oh, the
onto Zeri.
dash.
Oh, the flash coming out as well. The damage not quite there either, but Zeri, now it's
The
her
sauce
turn
is
to
also
return the
perfect, they
damage.
losses.
And now she is just burning down these champions. Karthus and Zeri being able to burn it down. Yon also coming into the fight. And Ornn absolutely blowing that horn and getting the knockup. And it looks like Karthus will get that last kill. So another 3 kills going on to the side of MiSFiTS there.
Elation is
Elation
just getting
Gaming
completely
falling here.
outplayed. I just think they are getting completely outplayed. The Fearless is just making whatever the hell he wants out of this fight. He just dashes away, doesn't suffer any consequences because Seri is able to dash away, and then you're in an awful spot. Nyla gets exhausted, so she does absolutely no damage in that fight. And then the rest of the members, because they were better positioned on the side of MiSFiTS, collapse on the play and they make it work out. I dislike the way that Elation is opting into this because they are going for picks, and I think that their composition needs to fight as a whole together, not just opt into small picks here and there.
Yeah, unfortunately, in all of these fights, Camille has not been there. Probably one of the lead gold makers on their team. So as we keep saying, Camille needs to be there to be able to lock down that Zeri as they keep going onto it, but they just don't have the damage to be able to kill her before she dies out. So and then Zeri just 3, 1, and 6 right now, 2 items and some boots. Absolutely, being able to take over as soon as she doesn't die, getting into that maximum range and blowing all of her damage out, making sure that Elation really has to respect her in the end, but they've not given her the respect that she needs so far.
And now, like it becomes so dangerous because Siri was able to get important kills in that. Now she has two items. She has
Hmm.
two items completed. She has the lifesteal. She now also has the backup of the Lulu being so strong. And then you also have to worry about the Karthus. So everything can just turn out massively wrong for you. And I think that Elation needs to really find some important kills. Be it on the Karthus or on Fearless. I think they want to commit more on Fearless once again because of Fiddlestick's positioning. But I
Well,
think that trying to opt for Karthus would be better.
looks like we might be possibly getting another fight in this mid lane, but looks like Karthus is gonna be backing out. The bot lane of MiSFiTS also making their way behind him, behind the lines. And Camille and Ornn just absolutely balancing this out. Camille not quite having the damage, but Ornn definitely not being able to return any. So it's just, immovable object right now versus an
Oh,
unstoppable force. Ooh, but Set showing that, hey, you may be 404, but that does not make you invincible. Having to go back into the clone, and he gets pulled back. The flash coming out, dodging the shield damage there, and it actually looks like Set will lose. So
oh
flashes and
no.
ignites burned by both sides, but it ends up being in Yone's favor. So he said, you may have been close, but not quite. Oh my gosh.
And
Ornn
now we need
actually
more.
looking for this fight as well.
Well,
It
Orn
looks
may
like
die
he's
here
just trying to
before they
bait.
arrive.
Yeah, looks like he's just trying to bait her for this Karthus and Lulu. Zeri to come up too. Flash having to be burned, but looks like
And
that
they waste enough
actually
time.
might be the death of Fiddlesticks here. Maybe Camille
No.
as well. She stays. But looks like she might have no choice. Nyla and Yumi making their way
They're not
in,
winning
trying to
this.
trade back onto this Lulu, but he flashes out the
Oh
the
no.
lockdown onto Zeri, but it doesn't matter because there's just not enough damage, and it ends up falling 4-0 in that top lane fight. And it will be the Baron going over to the side of MiSFiTS here.
I don't want to say it's over, but what do you think for game three? What do you think game three should look like? Because so far, I think this game is so in control of the side of MiSFiTS. They corrected every mistake, they drafted better, and they are dominating in the way that they need it.
Yeah, they're definitely dominating a lot more, especially with this Yon being able to show his power. Sorry, Quinn being able to show off Fearless, also playing the game that he's normally used to playing. Being able to, soak up
Yeah.
that damage, making sure that Toxic Eden can go other places, especially in this mid lane. Being able to get Quinn ahead early on, making sure that they got 2 or 3 kills onto Egos here on this set. So, as we've been saying, yeah, MiSFiTS definitely making a comeback from game one and showing that this is not all that they have to offer yet.
I'm trying to really think of what the side of Elation can try and do to turn around this situation. Because even though they still can pull off a massive team fight win, right? Like they have the team fight tools to be able to pull it off. They're lacking damage. And this Nyla doesn't have it. She's still yet on the Hydra. Like she hasn't completed anything more.
Yeah, we have about 2.5 items onto Zeri, 1.5 going on for Nyla, the ADC here, mid OTP. And Drake coming up right now. So it looks like MiSFiTS is actually going to be able to catch this third Drake.
Another
Especially since I
damage.
just don't think they have, yeah, they just don't have the damage. They don't have the team fight, especially without Camille being there as with them. So it looks like it's just going to be a free give into the MiSFiTS pockets and 3 Drakes going over. Infernal Drake just making this damage even worse with every single one of them. And then leading into the Soul as our next Drake in, sorry, I think 4 or 5 minutes.
Don't think we're going to reach that point if I'm honest. Like it just feels like with the control that they have, yeah, they are going for it.
Yeah, Ornn definitely getting the knockup onto Yumi, so she won't be able to pair with anyone
Oh,
for
kill
at
again,
least 10 seconds, and it
yes.
looks like the cat will end up being falling. Oh, Fiddlesticks being able to get out with the flash. A turret being traded over, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to be
Karthus ult.
enough. Fiddlesticks actually falls to the Karthus ult.
Isn't
Karthus
that
with
fate?
10 stacks on his Dark Seal. a Rabadon's, a Liandry's, just so much damage on his side. And like you said, it doesn't look like we're going to be lasting that extra 4 minutes for Soul. The game might be here unless we see a strong defense from Elation Gaming. Camille finally being in this fight at the beginning, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough. Yeah, Set falling, Camille having to maybe try and take away these turrets, but there's just too much CC coming out from Ornn. Lulu, oh my gosh. Another defense coming out from Nyla. Ornn
I
falling
don't think I
very
did
close
all.
to dead. Ornn actually ends up falling. So does Karthus. That's 2 kills, but it just doesn't look like it's going to be enough as the Nexus falls here. So it looks like it will end up being a 1-1 matchup here. And it's just going to be the side of MiSFiTS finally showing off here.
They were able to really get a hold of the game with how much the side of Elation tried to force themselves in the mid game. They just gave opportunities for MiSFiTS to just get a hold of the game, and I loved how MiSFiTS took so well of an advantage of that. Like they just consistently did it in a way that they never allowed anything from Elation. And I think for the next game, there's going to be a lot of focus towards not only getting a lot of power for later stage, but also being able to out damage your opponent in a way.
Yeah. So what do you think that the I'm sorry, what do you think Elation can do better in this game 3 here? What do you think MiSFiTS can do to make sure that they keep this lead?
I feel like trying to not imitate the first game as much as possible would be great because some of the picks from the side of Elation were really similar to what Misfits actually drafted in the first game. Like the Nyla, for example, a champion that is forced to go in, and when she's behind, she just simply doesn't find that much value.
Yeah, definitely Nyla just having to go in here. She definitely was showing a lot of promise early on, being able to get those trade backs in the 3v2 fights. But just seems that as the game went on, the short term or sorry, the short distance ADC versus that long range rifle from Zeri was just not always or just was not quite the matchup that they wanted. It was not ending in the way that they expected it to go.
Yep.
So it looks like we will be taking a small break, getting ready for this third game, and will be the final show of which team will be slightly better in this matchup. MiSFiTS 1-1 against their rivals of Elation Gaming, or sorry, Elation Rebirth here. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And here we are into game three of Elation Rebirth versus MiSFiTS. So they have opted to switch sides again. We have Elation being on red side, or sorry,
Makes sense.
Elation being on blue side with MiSFiTS being on red side. So they haven't quite started draft just yet, waiting for us a little bit, but should be starting very soon. Oh, and there we go with Zillion already being banned out here.
To the surprise of no one.
Yep. Zillion, Gwen, Gangplank. These picks, as we've become oh so familiar with so far. And Caitlyn also being banned out. So a lot of repeat bans, but honestly for good reason too. Zillion being banned out from Villanova here, Gangplank from the top laner, Yon from mid lane. That a little bit of ego is not quite matching up to that Yon, but it may not have been the Yon. It may have just been the Karthus. Gwen, Caitlyn, Maokai coming out from the MiSFiTS for their bans.
I do think the Yone was a bit of a problem just because it did create a thread, like a big thread for the Nyla, but it's instead the Ornn that gets first picked at the end. And I do think that Ornn, both games, has really showcased how valuable it is. Even with the soul kills, it just was consistently valuable for the rest of the team. And I think that that is why it's first pick right now.
Yeah, Ornn has been, whoever gets the Ornn ends up winning the game. Ooh, but I do like the counter pick with Mordekaiser here. Have definitely played this matchup before, and Mordekaiser does have a lot of damage coming out. Having those three autos, and automatically Ornn just loses any matchup that happens or any trade that happens. And another small thing that also happens is whenever Mordekaiser ults, Ornn loses his as well. So it just goes
Yep.
off into the distance.
Plus the Lulu. This could have set
Lulu.
up for a Seri angle, but now you kind of just take Seri on the other side. Seri Yumi. You can take Seri Yumi here as Elation.
Yeah. Elation can choose the Zerayumi. It may be interesting, especially since MiSFiTS isn't quite as keen onto the Nyla, so they may choose something else with, a little bit more range, a little bit more safety as opposed to the all engaged Nyla Yumi. So, although
Yeah.
it's not guaranteed, it is definitely a
Oh,
strong picks. But with that Lux, normally we do see the Lux Caitlyn, but we're gonna have to see who they end up pairing up with
Lux
that Lux
Ash
here. Lux Ash, that is a
for
very strong
range.
pick as well.
Lux Bearers, maybe range as well.
Ooh. I would like to see the Lux Varus here, especially with that long range engage and just a lot of poke. So Lulu's shield, although it is very good to have, it's typically not as good for just those one abilities that end up doing a whole lot of damage.
Yeah.
She doesn't actually get the timing on the shield.
Hmm. Ezreal. Okay,
Ezreal.
true. Ezreal also has poke.
All right, yeah, a lot of poke coming up from this Ezreal. So again, yeah, Ezreal actually being able to hold his abilities, making sure that Lulu's shield goes down. And then a lot of damage actually going to be able to come out from this Elation side. But as you said, MiSFiTS still actually able to pick up this Zeri or maybe some other hyper carry that they have as well. We know Fearless is definitely the carry or one of the carries on the MiSFiTS side, as we've seen. So he's not afraid to take his team, put on his back, and say, "All right, let's go win this game."
And it worked out in the previous game, so I wouldn't be against it working out again
Mhm.
for a second time. So going to the true and useful Seri Lulu, I like the idea. I think that not having the same front line in the form of the mouth of the Ornn may be a little bit riskier because of how much pressure it may put on the Seri to play perfectly, in a sense. But I do think that it's still a really fine pick to go for.
Yeah, it is always a very safe pick, as you said. Uh, and yeah, to piggyback again, Elation isn't going for that full engage with the Nyla, the Yumi, the Fiddlesticks. So it's not quite the same safety that Zeri needed as before with the Lulu. But I agree. I think it's still a strong pick coming out. So Cassin being banned away from MiSFiTS. I would expect to see Anivia also being banned in this second rotation.
Yep, would make a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
Ooh, Karthus.
Also makes a lot of sense considering how it impacted the previous game.
Yeah.
With Mordekaiser,
Something
though,
that
you do get the value from building Magic Resist, right?
yeah, you do. Something that I did want to point out as well is that Eden on that Karthus was absolutely in the right place at the right time almost
Yeah.
every single fight, every single like engage that Elation tried to do. So although Karthus might be the ban, Eden was just absolutely playing out of his mind in that jungle. So definitely have to give a whole lot of credit over to him. Veigar
Yeah, the
being banned out
performance
as
was
well.
much better.
Yep. Let's see if this Kassadin is also banned out or Anivia. Or sorry, not Kassadin. There's the Anivia. What I meant to say was Azir, but Anivia ends up being the pick.
Rice, we haven't seen it, and Rice has been such a contested pick recently, which is surprising to me. And I think he would provide so much control over pushing the waves and being able to allow for your team to be strong enough.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like either of these teams have too much practice onto the I'm sorry, too much practice onto Rise here. Uh, I am just realizing
Maybe the
that
case, yeah.
Elation Rebirth does not have their normal mid laner in the game as well.
Mm,
So that might also be affecting how they have to play the game, playing, a little bit
true,
differently.
true, true.
But yeah, ends up being Volibear out onto the Misfit side. So although you're saying they don't have that same front line, Volibear especially makes up for that.
And does get the boost from the Lulu, so I do like that part. So I'm not fully against the Bolivar here. I do think that he's not comparable to the Ornn in terms of front lining because Ornn obviously gets tankier and the value from the items, but Bolivar may find a lot of good value and also dives becomes much better thanks to this Bolivar.
Yeah, agreed. There's a few fights where Karthus would love to dive underneath that turret to continue.
Eh,
As you're saying,
there it
there's
is.
that rise. Okay, so Ego is making sure that he's going to be playing that Ego champion. Rise, throwing out all four of his, fingers at the same time, making sure that he's trying to do as much damage as possible in this game. I think it's actually a very good pick into these more elongated fights from Volibear and Mordekaiser.
Anyway,
Maybe Zarya Lulu a little bit, especially with the nerfs to Zeri's damage. So it's gonna be interesting to see what they end up picking for this jungle here,
I think they
matching
need a little
out
bit
the
more AD
Volibear.
damage. Yeah,
Yeah, as you're saying, possibly an Olaf, which definitely would
I
pair
like
with the
it.
Mordekaiser, making him absolutely unstoppable from the Lulu, the Mordekaiser. He will still have to fear the Zeri because I'm not sure if he'll have the speed to actually catch up to her. But for the other members of this team, he will be indeed a menace.
I really like the Olaf here. We haven't seen much from Olaf, even though I think that his change made him a little bit stronger than he previously was. But I feel for this game, having that Ragnarok to deny some of damage, yes, Siri may be the harder target to try and pursue, but the others are easily killable. And even if he is one of the targets from the Mordekaiser, the Ragnarok value here may be so high. So I overall really like the Olaf value this game. I think that 80 damage may turn out really nicely, and he also can try and apply pressure early on. So he's a Aatrox mid or Mordekaiser mid actually.
Oh, I think it actually will be the Mordekaiser mid,
Okay,
Aatrox
it's
top,
Diana. It's Diana.
Diana. Okay. Okay, so there's a switch in chat. So it's actually going to be
Yeah,
that Diana.
Diana.
So forcing that Mordekaiser top, and Diana is probably going to be ending up in that mid lane. So
Or Bolivar top Mordekaiser jungle could also be a thing. Like Mordekaiser is still playable enough in the jungle.
yeah, we'll have to see where these champions end up. Because yeah, I completely forgot that Mordekaiser is just as flexible as Volibear is to go
Yeah.
either in that top lane or the mid lane. Or sorry, top lane or the jungle. There's sorry, it's a little bit of chat going on. Uh, but yeah, we will actually end up seeing where these champions go because, like you were saying, there's definitely a lot of flexibility that can go into any of these now. Mordekaiser going either in that top jungle or mid. Diana either going mid or jungle. Volibear going top or jungle. Like all these champions can go anywhere. So honestly, we don't know exactly where they're gonna go. Uh, Purely going off of the matchups, I would have to say Mordekaiser top, Volibear jungle, Diana mid, standard go, but they can definitely switch it up, just seeing if maybe they know these matchups a little bit better.
True.
Maybe they're a little bit more secure in how they play.
Yeah, they could make a lot of like small changes in terms of how the dynamic ends up working out and how much pressure you can apply in certain matchups. Like not every matchup is the same and not every way it's played it's going to be the same, especially because of the players as well. So I really want to see how much like pressure extra they get, how much they can provide for their jungler to be allowed to play the game much easily.
Yeah. But I do fear a little bit on the side of MiSFiTS here. Uh, I do have a one problem with how they're playing is they have two champions with the Zeri and the Lulu that would love to kite back. But they also have the Diana and the Volibear that want to run forwards. They want to get those picks and those team fight engages. And then Mordekaiser on the side, picking out one, so he's always good for either one of those. But it is a little bit of a difference there. Uh, with the kite back versus the engage
Yeah.
on the Misfit side. So, although Zeri can definitely go forwards, with the speeds up to Lulu, never having to worry about being caught up, being able to go forwards, go backwards without any too much worry with the Lulu speeds. But there's just one little like 2v2 in how they want to play the game on the Misfit side.
I'm also kind of
So,
curious how teamfights will end up turning out. Because we have seen how the previous two games, whoever has the potentially better team fighting comp, just end up just taking most of the fights and taking most of the victories in this game. So I really want to see who can put themselves in a better spot to win team fights, or if this time around just getting better picks or better fights in their favor, or actually just destroying champion before a fight starts would be more beneficial for them.
yeah, well, it would definitely be interesting. If I had to pick one team to win this, definitely have to go with the side of Ornn with Elation Rebirth here.
Well,
Purely
it's
not even
2 for 2,
because
right?
of these the team compositions, but whoever picks Ornn ends up winning the game in the end. So two for
Makes sense
two
to
in
me.
these games so far.
Makes
So
sense to me.
yeah, obviously just a champ diff right now. Um, but yeah, well, we will have to wait these 3 minutes, make sure that these teams get settled, get their little lead ahead of us. But we will be back to be able to see the end of this best of three versus Elation, Rebirth, and MiSFiTS 1-1 in this series right now. So don't go anywhere. And we are back with Elation Gaming versus MiSFiTS here. MiSFiTS being on the side of red and Elation Gaming, or sorry, Elation Rebirth being on the side of blue. So again, a nice little 5 set, or sorry, 5 point on both sides right now. No one getting no one getting too aggressive here. Uh, yeah, it just seems like a very standard start. Both teams not trying to misstep early on, cause their team the lead here, especially with this
Yep.
1v1 getting very close.
Makes sense also considering the sports. Yes, Lux does have that stun early on, but realistically, they are squish supports. It's not like a Nautilus or a Leona walking into bushes being confident enough that they don't die. These are Lulu and Lux. They will get exploded if they get caught out.
Yeah, definitely both of these supports not being the tanky ones that they may have been playing early on. Uh, but yeah, just gonna be a standard start. But it is interesting. Olaf is starting on this blue side, so he does want to put a little bit of fear into Fearless here, giving them some early ganks, making sure that Zeri gets poked down a little bit early before they get too much distance, too many dives, too much mobility, and getting those axes thrown, slowing them down and getting some kills early on.
Yeah, I do think that trying to put pressure before she gets more access towards that, just running away, potentially the better play. You also would like to try and make it so that you get enough poke thanks to this Ezreal and Lux, so that when you come down there, or if you come down there, they are low enough that you can just come in and get a kill. It opted even into the Ghost, not even the Flash.
Yeah, the Ghost Flash onto the Zeri side, and a lot of damage coming out from both this mid and bot side.
Yep.
Egoist, Lux, Ezreal, just showing the amount of poke that they can give out. Diana having still not using any of her pots just yet. This top lane being a
Ornn.
strong fight. Ornn again showing how much better he is, but it looks like
Ooh.
he might actually be losing a little bit of that trade there. Lulu having to use her flash to get away from the absolute pure level 2 damage from Ezreal Lux there. And it looks like Mordekaiser actually made it back in that 1v1 fight there. So not too much loss on the side of MiSFiTS in the top lane, but Lulu losing her flash early on is just not a very good thing. And mid lane, taking a lot of damage. Diana having to use all of her pots early on within the first 3 minutes of this game.
Egoist did lose the cannon, so I think that's a bigger blow. But all in all, like you're pointing out, he is doing so much damage to this Diana, putting so much pressure. And this is the value of the Rise. This is why I wanted to see the Rise and why Rise has been seen so much in professional play. He gets so much control, he pushes waves, especially against champions like this. He just easily is able to make it so that your life in mid lane is so hard. And there's no real answer unless you gank him early on.
Yeah. And it looks like Ornn's actually be playing a little bit of fire, especially with this Volibear on the top side. Now Olaf taking that, Olaf using that vision cone. And it looks like they know that Volibear is going to be on the top side. Seeing that all of his camps are down bot, so Ornn has to be playing very careful here.
Olaf has yet to be a true attempt to go to any lane, which I'm surprised a little bit, but at the same time, if he's able to get farther ahead than the Bolivar, meanwhile the Bolivar is looking for some ganks, potentially could be good, but he's really not that far ahead. Oh, gang mid lane.
Well, looks like Diana is going in, but taking a lot of damage. She may end up falling, but not
That was
quite to the
risky.
damage of Ignite. Living with just a little sliver of health and having to back for the second time. Or I'm sorry, for the first time this game so far, but it's not looking too good for her right now. Not having to use any of her summoners in that fight, but just overall the damage output.
It actually ended up being a positive trade of summoners for the Diana because Ignite from the Rise was used and nothing else was used from the side of MiSFiTS.
Yeah. Unfortunately, she is losing about a wave of minions
Yep.
underneath that turret. Volibear is there to catch it, but just Diana is down 20 CS within the first 5 minutes of this game, which is just not the position that you want to be in any mid lane fight. And Olaf showing his face in this top lane, forcing Mordekaiser to flash away. And they do not opt to go underneath the turret. A smart choice, but a summoner going down for the Mordekaiser here.
Great timing that they went in for the dive. I think that if the Ornn potentially gets the knockup before opting into anything else, they could have even going for the kill on their turret, all in all, it's still an Ornn. You still value the fact that they get a flash out there in the top lane, and you can come back here later. Like this is an Olaf level 4. With level 6, it's easier to pull off. You don't have to worry about the ultimate that much, and you can try and make it so that you get more and more value.
Yeah, we have to actually point out the fact that in this top lane that he did have to TP back, but he did catch the wave before it hit the turret, so he has it perfectly frozen on his side. Unfortunately, 4 members going onto the side of MiSFiTS trying to get I'm
But this is
sorry,
bad for mid.
Elation. Yeah, Diana just showing her presence bot lane, but unfortunately the turret is going to be crashed by the minions, and she's just going to lose a little bit more for that. Not really getting anything out of it.
Is this like the second wave potentially she's losing out? She didn't lose the whole wave, which is good, but she's still losing out on minions and experience. This Rise is getting so strong by himself, and we've talked about the issue of having the rod plus the new tier. It just gives you so much power, especially as Rise.
Yeah, Rise now still up, keeping that 20 CS lead on her. And
Oh,
it's
ulti.
not looking too hot. Mordekaiser using his ultimate in here, the Death Roam, and it looks like Ornn will actually be falling down to it. The flash at the
No
last second. As
flash.
soon as Death Roam ends, he gets the way. He doesn't have TP to be able to come back to live or come back to lane to catch this wave, but he does actually survive with his life intact.
And this is one of those reasons why the Mordekaiser ends up being one of the picks against the Ornn. Now, it doesn't net them the kill, but it's still such a good play. Oh, Queen, you need to be careful.
Yeah, Diana actually going in, taking a little turret shot. A lot of burn coming out from this corrupting potion as well. So we can't be ignoring that, that extra burn that corrupting potion gives out.
Yep.
And so
And
it's
now
just a
both have
little
Ignite
bit,
as well, just in case.
yeah, Ignite back up on Rise. So it looks like that early burn of it didn't actually end up coming to anything for the side of MiSFiTS. Unfortunately, or fortunately for MiSFiTS, that Rift Scuttle actually ends up their side, and it looks like they might be looking for this Drake. Ezreal and Lux
Oh,
both
ulti.
resetting. Rise getting
Oh, wait.
almost picked out from the Diana, the flash away, but the turret shot ends up
Ooh.
trading 1-for-1. First blood going over to Diana, so that extra 100 gold going her way. But Rise does end up getting the return, and the crash is actually going to be going onto his turret, so he loses even more in that fight. In net
Well
worth for
told,
Diana
yeah.
all the way around.
And I'm surprised that that ended up working out like that for the Diana. Not because of her damage or anything like that. It's a Diana with Ignite. It makes complete sense. The fact was that she was in vision, so Rice knew 100% what was happening, and he still fell victim to the Diana in that play. Oh, tomorrow you have no flash.
Yeah, it looks like Ornn's actually falling from the sins from before, having no
Oh
flash this
no.
time in the mace. Sorry, the magnificent mace coming down and ending Ornn's career in this top lane, making him lose just even more. So unfortunately, we have finally found the counter to Ornn in these fights in between both teams. Ooh, and
Top
some nice
lane.
trades going back and forth. Lux looking very dangerous. The exhaust coming out. Volibear also trying to show his colors using that ultimate, but
Ezreal
not
is
quite
dead.
getting the turret. And Ezreal will end up falling. The the turret shots not ending up mattering. Ooh, but Mordekaiser still having that ultimate, but doesn't matter against an Olaf, as he will just continue to hit you over and over with that damage, and he will end up losing his life as well. A
It's so
trade
sad
for
for
the
the
top
Ornn.
side for the bot side.
It's so sad for the Ornn that he actually doesn't get the assist because of the positioning of the ultimate there. But they did trade 1 for 2 thanks to that kill onto the Mordekaiser. Bot lane though was looking so good for Elation, and the fact that now they lost it, they blew every summoner because the flash from the Lux was still not up, means that now repeat again from the Bolívar can happen once again. And with level 6 on both Lulu and the Seri, this can be such an easy kill to just blow open completely.
Yeah, I have to agree there. And the rift actually ends up going to the side of Olaf. So it's just a little bit extra gold going into their pocket there, and not even including the plates that can possibly be taken with it. It'll be interesting to see which one he wants to end up getting ahead, either once he gets this Ezreal ahead or the Rise.
It's an interesting decision who it may benefit more. I think Rise could probably be the most important recipient for it, especially because mid lane, obviously, if you open mid lane, you pretty much open the rest of the map.
Yeah. It might be important to get this
Ooh,
Rod of Ages onto Ryze's side, but Diana going in once again, using that ultimate, but the trading damage actually ends in the favor of Ryze. Being able to catch that wave before it takes the turret, and a lot of return damage going on to Diana there. Oliver not quite in position to capitalize on it.
all in all, Rice is still winning the farm battle. He's still pushing the Diana out so effectively, and even with the damage that she has, it's not like she can blow up the Rice immediately.
Yeah, she's actually ahead, or he's actually ahead about 32 CS within 10 minutes of this game.
Yep.
And she's losing just even more. He actually comes back to auto the turret to get that plate as well. A lot of damage coming out into this Zeri. You're losing half of her health from the combo of Lux that'll be up in just 80 seconds again. So really not that long for her to just continuously spam that. Olaf actually waiting in the bush. But Ezra
Going
was...
back, this could be the turret, actually. Oh,
Ooh, it looks like he might choose your decision of trying to get this Rise ahead instead. Which I do agree with, especially since we
I
want to
almost
get
like it,
Rise
yeah.
with that Rod of Ages.
So it makes sense because of how powerful the Rice can become. But I feel like in that instance, with knowing that Bolivar is topside, I think that this could have turned into turret or at least a couple of kills. Tomorrow, be careful.
Yeah, tomorrow having to be careful on this Ornn. Biting off a little bit more than he can chew. He has to be careful of the pullback from Mordekaiser. Because if he gets just too far away from his turret, Mordekaiser can just put him in the death realm and, give him the death. That pullback being
Yes, he'll
canceled.
die.
Excellent. Yeah. Excellent decision by Tomorrow there. And yeah, as we said, that Rise, or sorry, the Rise getting a little bit farther ahead with those plates going down from Olaf's Rit Herald. And they do have to be careful on
At
this
least they
bot
used
side.
it.
Lux does have Final Spark once again. So that 80 seconds just up and up. All right, Olaf looking towards his strike that's going to be coming up within the next 30 seconds, next 45 seconds. So trying to clear out that vision. Yeah. Looks like Tomorrow's actually figured out the strat here of just being able to cancel that pullback, make sure he doesn't get too far away from his turret.
He figured out it's better to just be alive than dying. Pretty much.
100%.
Stop myself from killing myself so much.
Yeah. He's not actually falling behind either. He's keeping up with farm, he's keeping up with CS. So as long as he just doesn't give more gold to this Mordekaiser, that's all that matters. And the Drake, second Drake going for free to the side of Elation Rebirth here.
It's a 1-for-1 in terms of drakes. It's going to be. Is this the first Mountain Soul of the series? I think it is. So a lot
Yeah.
of resistances.
Yeah, we've seen Chem
Ouch.
Drake, we've seen
Wait.
Infernal, and we have a lot of damage coming out from Zera here, dashing in, but she doesn't know that
Oh,
Olaf is on his
fearless.
way. The snare
Oh,
ending from Lux, and
fearless.
looks like she will end up falling. The axe is just being short of the Lulu flashing away. So it looks like they will end up getting that kill. Now
It could
Diana trying to
be.
get a kill of her own in this mid lane, but it looks like Ryze is going to be changing out some damage, just not enough from Diana. Ryze having damage, but just not enough to be able to trade out this Diana's combo. So it looks like she's
Oh,
going to
please
get
dead
a
though.
plate of her own, but she will end up falling to the Olaf. Ooh, a very interesting Ragnarok use there. I don't think he quite needed to, but, better safe than sorry.
Well, I think it was because of the flash. He probably thought that the flash timing from the Diana was going to be over the slow from the Q of the Ola, so it wasn't going to be enough to get the kill. I think that he wanted to get that extra movement speed just in case.
Ooh, it
Oh,
looks like
Warren.
Tomorrow's actually in a very dangerous place in the Death Realm here. Mordekaiser did finally finish his Rylai, so the slow is coming out with Orange just going too far forwards, and he will end up falling. Mordekaiser now 2-1 in this matchup.
Mordekaiser is doing a really good job by being able to consistently killing the Arn. Now, I don't like to harp a lot in terms of itemization, even though it is important to keep in mind, but I don't like the fact that the Ornn opted into the Radiant Virtue instead of the Jackshot. Because you're missing out on a lot of potential resistances just in general, not even just because of your ultimate.
Yeah, I do have to agree a little bit there. I would like to see the Jack Show instead. But Radio Virtue does have its own benefits, so it could be very good into this backline for the Rise Ezreal Lux, making sure that they can survive in these fights. He may just be, giving up that frontline pressure, that frontline damage and resistance to just make sure that his backline stays safe, stays alive. But
True.
yeah, I do think that Jack Show might have been a better itemization here. But we will have to see how he ends up playing it out, how
There
he
is
ends up
also a
utilizing
bit
it.
of magic damage, so I think Jacksha probably, in the general aspect, feels a little bit better.
Yeah, have to agree there. And looks like Diana making sure that Olaf doesn't get this second Rift Herald for free. Keeping the wards out, making sure she's checking it out. And it looks like there's a lot of pressure for this Rift Herald here.
Ooh.
3 members of both sides showing up. Ezreal getting very dangerous there, trying to eat over the wall. He's trying to shift in. And having to flash immediately out, and it looks like that will be the Rift Herald. Olaf opting to, try and help out tomorrow here for the killing Birdie and Chaos, and actually ends up killing him. So it will be a trade. Rift Herald for Verdant Chaos here.
Look at bot lane though.
Ooh, Rise is getting a lot of gold by himself. And we didn't notice, but he actually finished the Rod of Ages, already getting 1 stack so far. So Rise is actually, getting that power up, getting those that gold all by himself.
Yeah.
And he's just gonna become even stronger and stronger.
This
Red's
may
being
be
used
though a
mid.
trade for this mid lane turret, which for MiSFiTS is super important to open up the map and get more vision inside of the enemy jungle. They want to allow for Diana to have angles where she can just immediately engage without being spotted, and that's why you need to open the map as much as possible.
Yeah, definitely. The trade back of those mid turrets definitely opens up that map. It also opens up a lot of that vision that can be placed, like you were saying, especially with this Drake coming up as well. So, as we see Olaf putting down those control wards, putting down those wards, and actually it looks like he's going to be looking for Diana in the spot lane here. She's just now maybe spotting it out. There she goes, spotting it out. Olaf in this Diana doing the 1v1, the Ragnarok being used, ultimates from both sides, but it looks
Yeah,
like Diana
Diana.
actually is not going to be winning this fight. The healing just too powerful, the true damage, the attack speed. Olaf, an absolute menace in 1v1 fights versus champions that can just only go in. So she had no escape there, and it looks like this Drake might actually have to go the side of Elation
Oh,
Rebirth, especially with Lulu being caught as well,
oh,
and
the
she
Rob is
will
helping.
fall as well too. Volibear
Wait.
still holding on to his ultimate, actually getting the trade onto Olaf here, and
Oh,
Rise
this is
is
dead.
also taking a lot of damage from Zeri here. The
Siri's
death realm
alive.
being used onto Orange, so it looks like his ultimate, as we are saying, is just lost to no one. But as soon as he comes back, the knocks up, the damage, Ezreal, Lux, being able to shoot out as much damage as possible, and he will end up falling. Ends up being a 2 for 2 here. Or 2 for 3 in the long run if we include Diana in the beginning.
Queen did die at the start. I'm surprised Fearless survived a lot thanks to the fact that the Mordekaiser took Yorn away. Can Queen do this?
Ooh, Quinn is
Oh,
trying for
Queen,
it,
no,
but
I
it
don't think
doesn't
so.
look like he has the damage.
Can they
And
get this before?
unfortunate will actually end up falling, but I don't think this Drake is a good idea anymore. The
Yeah, they
enemy
need to run
team knowing
away.
exactly where they are, mid OTP ADC is getting slightly caught by this damage. Tomorrow getting very low, so it looks like he's just gonna have to back. Maybe no TP on his side, so it looks like it's either gonna be a steal or a secure
But
from
Olaf
the
needs to
side
get
of
in.
MiSFiTS.
Yeah. He gets it!
Ragnarok used, and he ends up stealing it.
Oh,
Fearless actually ends up falling, being in the wrong position, the wrong time, assuming that they're going to get that kill. Eden also falling as well, not having the ultimate since you used it in the last fight, and that is a 2 for 0. The Drake also falling to the side of Elation Rebirth. So, a strong swing of position, a strong swing of gold into their favor. MiSFiTS just unfortunately not quite having their timings of those fights going in. Quinn going in a lot sooner than the rest of his team being able to catch up.
yeah, at all able to execute on it properly. They get completely destroyed by the side of Elation. Maybe completely is a bit exaggerated because they did get kills here and there, but the fact that they get the dragon, they get the teamfight victory, they're able to get important kills onto this Ezreal and Ryze is so big and maybe Verdant again.
It looks like there's actually gonna be another kill. Adri or Adrestia
Tomorrow.
actually being caught out or like not being able to help his teammate of tomorrow. But it looks like he will come
Oh
back
no.
just in time. The ultimate used too early, but it looks like it doesn't matter as
Yeah.
Adrestia is just showing Verdant Chaos what a 1v1 truly is in the Death Realm, but in the public view instead. It looks like this Drake will, or sorry, this turret will also be falling.
The important part is that they got the kill onto Verdant as well as the turret. And I don't think they lose out on this turret either, but it is getting pushed. And there is a lot of minions and damage. Oh, wait.
Yeah, definitely. It doesn't look like they're going to quite lose this turret yet. Lux coming in from the
I
side, so
think
they have
they
to be
can.
very careful. And not quite getting it. A
Ooh.
lot of damage coming out. Diana actually having to flash away. Quinn almost losing her life there. The ultimate coming out from Lulu.
Meanwhile, look at Olaf.
Yeah, Olaf has just been able to free farm that top lane, getting all the turrets, get all the minions. Getting even farther ahead as MiSFiTS tries to trade in the mid lane, but ends up losing a flash to, sorry, a flash and ultimate. It's just not going in their favor in that mid right now.
No, no, Bolivar.
Ooh, and Volibear thought he had Egoas on his back foot, but ends up being the bait in the end.
I like
Yeah,
that mid OTP ADC is playing the death build where you just burst out targets. So as long as you hit people, you burst them out.
yeah, it's a lot of damage coming out from this Ezreal and this Rise right now. Just it looks like they may be weak, but unless you have the damage to back you up with this Zeri or maybe a Mordekaiser, I don't think you're actually going to be able to end there and be able to fight that yourself. You're just going to have to wait for your team to come with you.
And you're saying Mordekaiser. I honestly think you need the Suri. Like that's the one that you always need to have. She was the one that was the stronger member for a good amount of time, and also she has one item completed. Like her mythic completion makes Suri that much stronger and that much survivable. Like this. Oh wait,
Yeah, as you were just saying,
look at
Zeri is the
this.
one doing the damage. And it looks like they almost killed the Lux, almost killed the Ezreal.
Yeah,
Diana
she's
trying to
dead.
get the way in, and they end up catching the Lux in the end. Ezreal just having to shoot his bullets over the wall, getting a lot of damage back, but not
Bro.
quite a lot.
Oh, polymorph.
And as we said again, that Death Realm just making the whole difference. Diana ends up falling, Lulu ends up falling, and
They
so
still
does
win.
Volibear. It's just a onslaught from the side of Elation, Rebirth, Verdant Chaos following Toxic Eden and Villanova. Quinn just in the Death Realm, honestly.
Like
It's one of
even
those
with
moments where you're not trapped in here with me. I'm trapped, or sorry, you're. I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me. Type of moments there. And there
it's
goes
really
Baron.
unlucky, honestly. Like the fact that the idea wasn't wrong, but the commitment just felt like too much after a certain point. They get the kill on the Luke's great, but Ezreal is alive. You're putting yourself way too deep inside of the enemy territory, and then from behind comes Egoist on the rise, comes the Olaf, comes the Ornn as well on the teleport, and it just becomes impossible for them to fight it out.
Yeah. Adresta is just so far ahead compared to his counterpart. Toxic Eden just really only having one item, almost half an item, or sorry, two parts of items. But, Olaf just absolutely taking over 2.5 items, just showing off, making sure that that Ragnarok can never stop him from going in and being able to take out those key members from the side of MiSFiTS.
You need to run away. As soon as Rise is present, pointing click CC, you have to get the hell out of there. You're dead if he gets you.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's a very rough time for the side of MiSFiTS right now because
Yep.
although they want to be able to contest these objectives, it's hard to do whenever you have this Lux, this Rise, this Olaf with his slows. Just one of these abilities makes it easier for the others to hit theirs, and before you know it, you're just trapped in a consistent CC bubble. And Rise finally getting his 10th stack, or getting into the level 15 area, 3 levels above his counterpart of Quinn on Diana.
Was that really needed at Ristia? Honestly.
Taking 2 minions with him, getting it a little bit early on that turret take. Guess fair enough. The Rise ult is not the best ult in the world. So sometimes using it for the utility purposes is a better way of using it. And MiSFiTS just having to defend their base in this one. Doing a 4-1 split here of the bot lane and the mid lane here. Olaf using his Demolish, trying to take that mid turret, and there it falls. But now he's going into this, the inhib turret of the mid lane. A lot of pressure still being pushed over. The death realm being used onto the Rise, flashing in onto it. Meanwhile, the rest of the fight, Ezreal having to flash out, having to use his
that
dash,
a
but
lot.
it doesn't end up working. He ends up falling, but so does Diana, so does Toxic Eden. It looks like the realm wasn't enough to kill Ego is on the Rise, but he will be killed in the following fight. Unfortunately, Tomorrow ends up making his way over. Lavender Kitten on the Lux, trying to fight off that Mordekaiser, but not quite working. Lulu ends up falling underneath the turret, and they just don't have the tankiness to take that turret by themselves. A 4 for 3 on the side of Elation Rebirth there.
They really play that team fight out so chaotically. Like on one side, two people are killing the backline, and on the other, the Mordekaiser is also killing the backline. So it feels so chaotic, but at the end of the day, it's still Elation, the one that ends up winning it. They get an extra turret. They were thinking about the inhibitor, but respawn timers were really low, so it's not like they can push through much better than this. But that was one of the better fights that we've seen on the side of MiSFiTS. They got the right targets. I love that Burden went for the ultimate onto the Rise, much more so than the Ornn, because I think that the Rise right now it's being much more problematic.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's not one of those things where you can take out their strongest member because Adrestio with that Ragnarok is just unkillable, unstoppable. So the next best thing is to take out Egoist, who's, as you've been saying, has that point and click stun, or sorry, that point and click snare, that ability to just shoot out as much damage as possible with the
Yeah.
spam ability of his abilities. Now that he's almost level 16, it's just going to become even worse. So as you've been saying, Mordekaiser definitely needs to be taking out that ego, is trying to put him in the death realm. Maybe not killing him in the end, but at least getting him half health, getting him scared, making him back up.
Yeah, you
Because
don't
in
need
that
to
fight,
kill him. Exactly. You need to send a message. That's the right way to put it.
yeah, in that last fight, he wasn't able to kill him in the death realm, but definitely outside of it, he was able to finish him off after a little bit of chasing. Even with this Lux trying to help him out with the shields, the snares, the slows, it just wasn't enough. He ended up killing Lavender Kitten as well.
But I
So
think Lavender Kitten also played out the fight really well, getting so many stuns and damage out as well. Kind of like a secondary mage. Obviously not comparable to Rise, but still doing a really good job.
yeah. It was definitely a very interesting fight as both divers went for the back line and no one said to help theirs. So both back lines were just suffering in that fight. Meanwhile, the front lines were just having a blast. So we're gonna have to see how this fight goes on. Baron almost coming up. The team's trying to set up for it. Elation, Rebirth having the map control in this area. So they have their pick of wars, their pick of a vision that they want to put down.
Yeah. Still, the control is so much more in favor of the side of Elation, right? And with Baron coming up soon, with Soul coming up soon, the decision from MiSFiTS needs to be good and fast because they cannot have any hesitation in what they want to do or how they want to respond.
Yeah, agreed. Especially with Mountain Soul, it just becomes that much harder for all the members of MiSFiTS to be able to take out these key components to
There's
the
pretty much three
the
tanks. I
Elation
just want to
fight.
say.
Yeah, it's you have like Olaf, you have Ornn, but then you have Rise, who's just an absolute health bot with this Rod of Ages, and even with the Frozen Heart, having
Has
all
some
that
armor.
that armor. As we were saying earlier, the only one who stands a chance against this Rise is probably the Mordekaiser. And
Ooh.
use the ultimate not actually catching Ezreal and Lux, so they don't get there in time.
But they should
But
still get it. Like,
yeah, it doesn't seem like it'll matter too much here. It looks like they're gonna be getting this for free.
the play was cute. The issue is that, or the play was cute, and I think the execution obviously could have been better. But for MiSFiTS, the issue here is that they flip flop. Like we talked about this, they need to be sure about their decision and they need to be quick. They weren't. They just were hovering mid lane. They didn't expect them to use the ultimate, which I find weird. But you could also see Bolivar was going down, meanwhile the team was still on another page. So they never really know what they wanted to do. Now they're rushing this Baron. Can they do it? It's too
Yeah,
early.
look.
It's too late.
Ooh, down to 17 health. So Lux had to secure it in the end. There could have been a very dangerous area, especially if Oliver
Yeah.
tried to actually steal that Baron away. Interesting that he didn't, but you know, I think they're gonna try and see if they can fight out this Mountain Drake, this Mountain Soul, and this Baron buff as well.
There's a universe where this works out. I'm not sure we're in that one, but it can still happen. There is good tools on both on the side of MiSFiTS to be able to pull it off. I particularly think that it's a lot on the Diana to find a great angle for the ultimate because she does have a way to break the shields from the side of Elation, and then Seri has to pop off in the fight. Like she has to hard carry it really well.
Yeah, Elation is definitely in control of this fight so far. These Baron minions actually being able to soak up all the damage that they're trying to show out. It looks like this inhib is going to be falling for free here.
They have so much free reign.
Now it looks like they're going to be switching over to the turret
Vernon.
on the bot lane. Just no damage coming out onto Egoist here. Meanwhile, Vernon Chaos just taking a whole load of it for himself. And the second inhib falling for the side of Elation. Orin trying to get those picks out. Not quite close enough for the side of Elation to actually take advantage of that.
Oh,
But these
Lulu.
Baroned up minions are just taking
Oh
over Lux.
no!
Ooh, Diana almost trying to
That
get
was
in,
beautiful,
but
by the
getting
way.
bursted out before she even gets there. The ultimate not being able to be used. Lulu also
That's
falling in
it.
the end. Volibear falling. Zeri falling. Mordekaiser having to hold the base all by himself, but it doesn't look like he will actually be able to.
Wait.
And it looks like there's just a little bit of trolling on the side of Elation, but it doesn't matter as the Nexus of MiSFiTS falls. A
and
2-1 victory to the side of Elation Rebirth.
and you saw it coming perfectly. 3 for 3. The side that has the urn ends up winning the game. Obviously, it's not because particularly the urn was on the side of Elation. I think that there were a lot of other factors, particularly Rice was so important. He dominated mid lane. Yes, he died a couple of times, but had a CS lead on the Diana, always pushed the lane, had complete agency the whole game. And then bot lane was able to provide so much soaking of attention that even though Bolivar was consistently there, he never got anything meaningful. I think they got one dive, and that's about it.
Yeah. If we have to show out, there's the high damage of the game ended up going over to Mordekaiser with 27,000.
Yeah.
But the equal damages on the side of Elation, uh, about 20,000 going over to Olaf, about 21 going to Rise, another 21 and a half going over to Ezreal. There's just too much share of the load for Mordekaiser just be able to take over one person, take them out the game, winning those fights. Ezreal had damage, Rise had damage, Olaf had damage. Taking out one just leaves the other two to take out your team.
Yep. It was really difficult to pull it off and you were on the side of MiSFiTS because you were completely depending on the Mordekaiser to, by himself, pull off a lot of the fights. And when that didn't happen, then the Seri, yes, she does deal a lot of damage, but you have point and click CC once again thanks to the Rise. And a lot of the fights were forcing the Seri to run away from the fight instead of her being able to move around, dash, and kill people. And that you cannot play the fights like that if you're Seri.
Yeah, it was definitely a very hard matchup to face. But in the end, it was only one victor, and the victor ended up being to Elation Rebirth. A 2-1 victory over the reigning champions of the Freljord division,
Yep.
MiSFiTS. So, as we go on, hope to see these teams again. Hope to see how they change, how they improve, how they decide to change up these matchups, and, how they improve and do better.
Yeah. There's still time for them to turn around the page and try and be and play it out better and better.
Yeah, we got about 6 weeks until playoffs start, so
Exactly.
always time. So that was our game for tonight. MiSFiTS versus Elation Rebirth. Elation Rebirth winning 2-1 against their opponents. And that is all we have for you tonight. So have a great rest of your night and sleep tight.